Welcome to Paranormal Roundtable, folks. I'm your host. We don't even have 100 people in the chat, but we're going to let it fill up. But I figured, instead of you just sitting there listening to music, just playing over and over again, why not just get started and you guys can watch me. Got some things to talk about. Oh, the Cowboys hat. Yes. Did you see how well they did? They scored 32 points. It was awesome, dude. They were down, 48-16, but the fact that they closed the gap to within 16 points gives you hope for the future, right? It's also because the haters are out in force. I'm not going to shy away from my team. I still have 2 teams left in this tournament. The Buccaneers, who play tomorrow, who will beat your Eagles, for those of you who are foolish enough to like that team. And the Packers look good. So I don't like the Packers. I don't really hate their guts. I don't like that team and never have. But it's not because the Cowboys in their history in the 90s, we beat them like 7 times in a row or something in the 90s and knocked them out of the playoffs like 3 times. So, how can you care about that? 93, 94, 95, we beat them in the playoffs every year. So, of course, the Cheeseheads are going to hate us. But they've had good success against our team as of late. I will say this. Like I said, I don't hate them. And I think that the Niners will have their hands full next week. The Packers are a lot better team than I thought they were. And I told you, Anthony, the Packers had a good shot at beating the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I said that. I know as the game got closer, here's a little weird thing. I don't have ESP per se, but I do have or maybe I do. It's extrasensory perception. I don't know. I feel things. But as it got closer to game time, I couldn't shake this feeling the Cowboys were going to lose and they were going to lose bad. And I thought it, and I said, man, I think they're going to lose this game. And I think it's going to be bad, And I just don't think they were ready. I don't think they were ready to. They just didn't look good at all. They looked terrible on every facet, especially their defense. Epic collapse. That team now. There were a few little things that happened. I didn't think were fair, but it happens every game. But I can tell you this: that team right now needs to be taken apart from top to bottom. Bye, McCarthy. He needs to go. If you know anything about sports, and I'm talking to you, I'm just waiting, killing time until we get people in the chat. Then we'll start talking about some other stuff. But I think it's time for that coach to go. 3 years now, 12-5, and then you go into the playoffs and lose. Last year, embarrassed in the playoffs by the Niners, and then got spanked by them during the regular season, and then this epic collapse against a seventh seed team. The Packers, who really they're no slouch though. But I think it's going to be the end of the line next week. I'd love to see them beat the Niners, but if they don't, they don't. All these people talking about, where are all the Cowboys fans? Oh, we're running and hiding or something. I don't give a crap. I've been a Cowboys my whole life. I am a Texan, so I like the Cowboys and the Texans. This is also my team. Yeah, we just won the Super Bowl. I rode those guys to the Super Bowl. Did a little parlay on that season, and guess what? It paid off. By mid-season, the Bucs still were not in the running to even be to make it to the divisional round of the playoffs. They were predicted maybe to be a wild card. So I threw a little money on it, rode it all the way to the finish line. Like I said, I'm not a massive gambler. I don't spend a lot of money gambling. But when you see a sure thing, you should take it. Now, people are going to say, hey, how could that be a sure thing? To me, it was. I just saw it. I knew that they were hot at the right time. And when they beat Washington, everybody was like, oh, they didn't look so good. And then they were going to be playing the New Orleans Saints. This is in the 2020 playoffs. Mm-hmm. And the Saints had beaten them twice during the regular season, but it was Tom Brady. And so I said, don't panic. They're going to beat them. The next week, they went up to Green Bay and crushed the Packers. And then everybody was like, well, they did all that, but now the Chiefs are going to take it. They're going to take care of business. Because the Chiefs had won it the year before against San Francisco. And I told everybody, I said, no, they're going to beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Nobody believe me. So everybody wanted to bet money on the Chiefs, and they did. And I came out smelling like a rose, and they won the Super Bowl for the second time in team history. And I like the Bucs. I've been rooting for the Bucs since '97. Around the time that John Lynch, Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, all those guys got there, Rondé Barber, that defense, Shelton Quarles, Booger McFarland. When those guys showed up, that's when I knew it meant business. All they needed was a quarterback and a coach. And when Gruden came and he got Brad Johnson was like a caretaker for that team. And that defense was cold-blooded. That's one of the best defenses ever. Even to this day, people run a defense called the Tampa 2, which is basically like it was created by them. Tony Dungy, original. But, oh well. It's football, man. It's not the end of the world. It's not life. Some people, they make it out like it's, they go hang themselves or something. I guess if you like mortgaged your house on a bet.
Yeah, if you lose everything.
And even then I wouldn't go and I would just start over. But I mean, it would be horrible. But I've never bet that kind of anything on it. I mean, that's just stupid. That's foolish. And if you ever go to the casino, I used to go about twice a year. It was just like, it's a fun thing to do. And we like to go to this one particular casino up in Oklahoma. And we used to go to Louisiana, but I never did well there. I didn't like it. It wasn't fun. It was too hectic. When you go to Oklahoma, it's like a resort, and it's really fun. And we just started going there in the summertime. It was like just to go to swim because the pools were so cool and the restaurants were amazing. And they had a bowling alley. And one weekend I was there, I won $3,800. I mean, I came out ahead, $3,800. I mean, it was like everything I touched turned to gold. So I started thinking about it, and I wondered because I was really angry at the front desk when they were, I have the player's card, and they were, and I thought, what if it's my card? Whenever I go to put my card into a machine, and they think, we screwed up on this guy's reservation, we screwed up on the room, whatever, maybe we'll help him, let him win. Maybe that's how it works because it's a computer. Yeah. So, you win big one time, then they keep you coming back. Unfortunately, I never went back. I haven't been back in two years, I guess. But because I just haven't had the funds to go run around and gamble. It's just not something I have money for right now.
Yeah.
But it's fun. Every now and then, maybe buy a scratch off or a lotto ticket or whatever. But don't make it your life.
Yeah.
There's some people. They can't stop gambling. A friend of ours told us recently that he bought a scratch off. I'm not going to say his name, Chris, but he said he won $1,000, and then he just started gambling like crazy, and he spent a bunch of money. It was like every paycheck spending money. When I worked in Vegas for a little while, I made that mistake of winning, and then I would gamble, on the weekend when I'd have a weekend day off. Usually I'd have a Saturday or a Sunday, depending on the schedule I had, doing security. And so I started going to the crap table, and I won big. Like the first time, like throwing craps, throwing dice, I won like $2,000. And then after that, I started doing it like every other weekend, but every other weekend. And
it's
then
like a drug.
Yeah, and then you end up like losing money. And then I looked and I thought, I don't like being broke for 2 weeks. I'm not going to do this ever again. But I did. But I didn't I was never addicted to it. Thank God I don't really have an addictive personality. And I went through a bout of drinking where you drink, and then you're like, oh, it's just social drinking. And then you're like drinking every weekend. Never like drinking during the week, though.
Drinking like a little bit every day or something. Just telling yourself, oh, it's just, I'm not getting drunk. And then that's like a gateway.
But I've never been one of those like weekday drinkers. It was always like on the weekend. But going out, to the bar or the club and just getting hammered, because you're young, and you think, oh, your body will be fine. The last time I had a hangover was about 10, 12 years ago, and that was it for me. I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing this ever again, and I didn't. And I haven't drank in about 4 years. I took a little bit of a nip of champagne at New Year's, and it tasted awful. It was expensive champagne. Everybody had champagne.
I don't think I've ever had champagne that I liked.
Yeah, it's not good.
No.
And I was just like, what is this crap?
It's just like something that people pretend to like.
Yeah, because you're supposed to.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, the first story we got is going to be one we got around New Year's. A very weird looking creature that was described to us out of, what state was it in? Oh, God. It's slipped my mind here. Starts with an M. Missouri. It was out of Missouri. Right out of the Ozarks. Let me see the map. I'm just trying to get about 300 people in here. We'll get started on some stuff here. Why is this phone not doing that? Come on. What's going on here? Phone is not responding. Probably because it's a million years old. You sit here slapping it until it starts working again.
Well, the newer ones will slow down like that too. Just so people can run out and buy the new model.
Yeah, well, you know that's not the case with me. I don't waste money on crap like that. Miguel Guetta, happy Sunday, Josh and Anthony and Tony and fellow paratroopers. I just bought another shirt and zip up hoodie yesterday and can't wait to wear it all over the place. Love you guys and God bless you. Yes, and thank you for the stuff you sent us. We need to bring that in.
Oh yeah.
We didn't bring it. We were running around trying to get things done earlier. It's cold here. It's like 16. Hell, what is it, 17 degrees right now?
Yeah.
It's like 17 degrees right now. So, and for Texas, I know people are going to say, oh, well, it's 1,000 below zero here. My head fell off. Okay, yes, I get that. You were very cold, okay? But this is Texas. This is Central Texas. Now, North Texas, up in the DFW area, it always gets several degrees colder than it does down here, and they get ice and snow every year. But no, for me, down here, it's not like a usual thing. I mean, but here in the last 4 years, it has been. It used to be like every 5 years or so, it's something, really bad ice storm, maybe snow a little bit, whatever. But then the last 4 years, we've had it every freaking year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like every year. Author and illustrator B.J. LaPierre, B.J. Moore. If your internet is buffering, go out and come back in. That might help. That usually does fix the problem.
Yeah, you might also lower the stream quality to like 480p.
Yeah.
Because it might be trying to stream at 720 or 1080.
I'm going to let some people fill up real quick, folks. I got to say my prayer. I didn't say my daily prayer today. As you can see, I didn't even fix my freaking hair. It's so cold as heck, running around trying to get things ready for this cold snap. I will be right back. Give me a few minutes here, folks. Shouldn't take long. Which one of these do I put? Q&A. All right. Had to say the prayer. We just running around, didn't do it. So, the town that I'm looking for, it's right on the border. But, there it is. I think everybody's probably heard of this town. I think everybody has a Carthage, too. Like there's a Carthage,
Carthage?
Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Carthage. Yeah, it's right outside of
Yeah, we have
Carthage.
Paris, Texas, Palestine, Texas.
Yeah,
Bunch of different.
Italy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see the name of this highway. Let's turn put my glasses on, folks. You think everybody be inside with this cold snap? We'd have more people in today already. Let's see here. While we're at it, we got a couple different stories out of Missouri. The George Washington Carver National Forest, that's another one right outside of Joplin. I got a really scary, weird Bigfoot encounter. But in between Webb City and Carthage, there was another Bigfoot encounter, which I thought was really weird. There's some people that were driving through there. They're kind of a funny pair. They're a couple. And she was driving, and apparently, for some reason, she was supposed to be on 43, or on going to 49, but she was supposed to go from Joplin through Doonweg, and then I guess the next closest town would have been like just where the interchange is, going down 44, and you're heading east, and then you cut up to the 49, and they were supposed to take it all the way up. Destination, I think, being Jasper, which there's a Jasper, Texas, too. And so this couple, they were kind of funny when I was talking to them. I actually enjoyed talking to them, Scott and Marie. Thank you for the story. Mo Ali, Wolf is a bandwagon fan. No, I'm still a Cowboys fan. I got this one. I got this one.
You weren't paying attention very well, were you, Mo? Because he was wearing the Cowboys hat earlier and talking about how we'll always be a Cowboys fan.
I'll always be a Cowboys fan, Mo. Not a bandwagon guy. And
show up on time next time.
Yes, exactly.
Don't be late.
Don't pay attention. And you need to bring enough, what's it called? Baklava for the rest of the class next time.
Yeah, baklava is good.
Yeah, we need that. Bring it. Bring those little honey biscuit treats, too. So here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to say it one more time while we're waiting for the chat to fill up. I still got two teams in the tournament, right? The Bucks, who I've always said, my number two. And the Cowboys and the Texans are like my favorite teams because they're from Texas. Very simple. It takes a lot for me to like your team if you're from another state. As far as I'm concerned, Texas teams are where it's at. Mo, we love you too. Here's the thing. If I like your team, there's only really two, or maybe three outside of the state of Texas. On two, the Buccaneers, and then the Raiders are my number four. I guess they're number three because the Bucks would be number two behind the Cowboys, Texans, because they're even, and then the Bucks. So somebody says I hate the Titans. I don't hate the Titans. I don't really care about them one way or the other. I don't like that my Oilers became them. I like the Oilers back in the day. But I will say this. I want to see the Bucks annihilate the Eagles and then go on to the NFC Championship and maybe somehow, some way, do what they got to do. If they could host another playoff game, that'd be great. Like if the Rams win tonight, then they'll go to Tampa Bay. It'd be better to have Tampa play at home than have to go to Ford Field and play the Lions, which is what will happen. Don't know that they'll be able to survive, going into San Francisco or Santa Clara, wherever they play now, and win, but it'd be nice. I'm looking more at the Texans. Texans are freaking unbelievable. They destroyed Cleveland. I mean, and just being a young team like that, them and the Packers are the youngest teams in the league. And congratulations to the Packers fans. The Packers did a good job today. taking nothing away from them, but Cowboys played like crap. They played like absolute crap. No urgency. It was weird because like if you're a sports fan, you know, and your team, you're a Cowboys. If you're a Cowboys fan, are you not shocked at the lackadaisical attitude? Is it not shocking to you like how there was no urgency? They were down like 20 points at one time, and they were playing like that score was tied.
Yeah.
Taking forever, like, you know, the play clock, you know, getting down to 10 seconds consistently. You're just sitting there like maybe, you know, even like 8 seconds, whatever, 7, you know, and you're going like, what is going on here?
Yeah,
How can
annoying.
you be taking that much time? They took like 6 or 7 minutes on that drive to score 3 points or whatever. I'm going like, what are you doing?
You know, like Rome is burning and they're just playing a violin.
I couldn't understand it. And McCarthy's over there, you know, and you're just, what? He's a joke, man. I mean, he's done, dude. I don't care. 3 12-5 seasons. Yeah, okay. Let him go have 3 winning seasons with some other team and go to the playoffs and get beat every year. Okay? I don't care. And the refs won't even be a factor if you just come out and just start blowing them out.
Yeah.
If you just come and blow them out, then the refs can't do anything. They can't save you, the other team.
Who do you think would be a good coach? A new coach?
Well, I know what he's thinking because Sean Payton would have been his pick, but he went to the Broncos. But I know who he wants now. Belichick.
Yeah.
I tell you what I'd like to see is Jimmy Johnson come out of retirement.
I've been wanting to see that.
No, I don't. Johnson won't. He got mad at the half. He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Come out and play with some fire." You know, I mean because that's what Johnson. He would have been in there. He was angry. He was fired up. He was yelling.
His
and
head would have looked like a pomegranate if he was head coach. Like
he was yelling and screaming, and you know Gronk and Strahan got all excited and got all animated and started saying stuff. And it was funny because you could see that they were all joking around, but Johnson was mad.
Yeah.
He was actually fired up and mad. They induct him into the Ring of Honor this year, and he gives that passionate speech. And I thought to myself, it's not going to matter. I honestly thought it would be the refs to take us out this year. They do it. Usually they do things to put you in a bad position. But not this year. The Cowboys went out there and just laid an egg. Yeah, Malias says Cow Schmucks didn't exactly as they should to sell merchandise. You may be right about that. Who knows? I'm not a Cowboys bandwagon fan. I've been a fan since birth. Astros, same thing. Rangers, and the Stars, Dallas Stars. I really like them a lot. The hockey team. They're the only one we have other than these like minor league teams. So yeah, of course I root for the colors, whatever. I also like the Rockets and the Mavericks and the Spurs. When people ask me why, I'm like, because I'm from Texas. Like, how is that hard to understand? And if a Texas team goes to a bowl game, I'm going to root for them. The Aggies, though, they have this thing where they'll root for China over UT. Over the University of Texas. I'm not like that, dude. I don't play that game. I don't understand. They're weird. Like, they were like after UT lost, a bunch of them were like, "Oh, does this mean y'all ain't going to go to the national championship?" And I'm like, why would you hate a fellow Texan that bad, like a Texas team? It doesn't make any sense to me. It seems almost like I don't know, un-American, to not root for your local team. But there's this whole thing that started probably about 20, 30 years ago. Because prior to that, you really did you kind of rooted for who you were, where you were from. But then there was this like it kind of more started with y'all's generation. Like it was like they wouldn't root for the local teams for whatever reason.
Nah, they just
pick a team and
they just picked whatever team that they liked the colors. It sounds stupid and it is, but I'm not joking. Like that they would just because like new era caps, like when I was like in high school, I remember they got like really, really popular, like those fitted caps, and like they would just collect caps from sports teams, and then like monkey see, monkey do, like it started to trend, and it's just like whatever team matches the color that you like, that's the one that you root for.
Mm-hmm.
Stupidest thing.
I saw a lot of people start wearing like Atlanta Falcons,
Yeah,
and then the
yeah, because they
Eagles
like the
too.
red and black.
Yeah, and then they like the Eagles too, and then they'll wear, whatever. And I saw people like jumping on the Niners bandwagon whenever they have a good year. I think the Cowboys though, like there's so many people that hate them. They hate the organization. They hate the team. But I tell you this with all sincerity. A lot of people hate Texas. They just hate Texas, and they don't know why. Like Maddie, she's from Chicago, and she said that she was brought up to just make fun of Texas, and of course you do. All the other states do, but the thing is, we prop up this economy. This union would not survive right now without Texas. Don't fool yourself. Don't kid yourself. This is not me talking as a Texan. This is me talking as an economist. I know a lot about a lot of things, and I'm not bragging. I'm being honest. I know a lot about science. I know about history. I'm really, really, really good in math. I know a lot about literature, pretty much most subjects. But one thing I'm really good with is the economy. That's why I have all this gold. You think I'm joking? Gold. Buy gold. And then you might need to stash it somewhere. I can tell you this. Our economy, Wolf Camp and the Gulf Shelf, have enough oil and gas to power this country for about 300 years. You think I'm joking? That is not a joke. That is not me bragging. This isn't humble bragging. Isn't anything. That's me being honest. When everybody wants to bash on us, and there is a cult of ignorance that has flourished since I was a kid. Make fun of the smart kids. They're nerds. When I was a kid, I was pretty average, and I'll tell you a story. I got bullied and picked on for being smart. And I kid you not. I was considered a nerd as a little kid because I was smart. I was always at the top of my class. I was always hyper intelligent compared to a lot of my peers. And teachers, one of two things. They didn't like me because I was hyperactive and they couldn't control me, or they loved me because I was really smart. And if they were smart teachers, they would channel that energy into giving me extra assignments and projects and use me to help, with the other kids. As I got older, that tended to be the case until I was like a tutor. And I tutored special ed kids, and then I started just tutoring other kids, and then I actually got paid for it. One of my friends who was from France, he was an exchange student, and he was not well versed in our language. And I tutored him in English. And subsequently I learned French, which paid off later on when I worked downtown. And I worked with Lebanese who were French Lebanese. So it paid off to be able to understand their language, and then ultimately learning Arabic. And then later dipping into Hebrew and learning some Greek and Hebrew, not mastering those languages by any stretch, but understanding them and being able to read and write in other languages is important, which is something I can't do. I can't read, and I can read but not write. I can't necessarily write it. But it is important. If you can learn those things, it's very important. Languages is something I've always been good with too. Geography, I've always been very good in those subjects. I don't really have any weaknesses when it comes to subjects. Like, learning about other cultures socially is very important too. I tell Anthony and Tony all the time, you need to find common ground with someone. The first thing you need to do when you deal with someone in any sense, in business or anything, find common ground with them. I'm giving you that advice, folks. It's free. Okay? Make fun of me, laugh, whatever you want. It's the way it is. One of the things I will tell you, though, I know this is the truth, that I hear all these people talking about California. It was the 6th largest economy. Now it's the 8th largest economy. I don't know what it is. They're dropping like a stone, but they'll keep it up on Wikipedia as long as they can to try to promote their agenda. But the bottom line is they don't have the natural resources that we do. Nobody does. Alaska is the closest one. And as large as they are, they take up half the country. You would think that they're the size of literally the half of the lower 50 states. Of course they should have some natural resources, but they got 12 people there, okay? And I think 3 of them are just there to hang out and drink in the bar. So you got 9 of them running the country. I'm joking, but the point is that Texas has a lot of resources and our economy is very strong and we don't have a state tax. And so a lot of people come here, but they do come here and they make fun. And then they learn real quick that your making fun should be done like elsewhere, not here. And they also learn to change their license plates real quick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because their cars will get vandalized and things like that. And I'm not joking. I know this, folks, because I work in security. So my guards will tell me all the time that they'll find vandalized vehicles. And a lot of times they are people with license plates from other states. Thank you for that donation, John Phoenix. We appreciate donations. Like we don't ask for them. They're not expected, but they're greatly appreciated. But we know times are tough too. And I was talking about that last night on the impromptu live. If you missed it, go back and watch it. And just letting people know we're not, this is right after Christmas and I understand. And we're not trying to push people to donate or whatever, but we do appreciate it. It helps the show stay going. But we are going to reevaluate things. We're gonna give it through January and probably through February, and then we're gonna decide. This is what I myself, Anthony and Nellie have all decided. We're going to take a look and see as a team, as a unit, and decide whether or not we want to keep the live streams going. We may cut it down to once a week or once every couple of weeks after February. We're not real sure. We're going to look and see how well it does. And if it's feasible, we may continue. And if not, well, we'll still do the podcast episodes. So that is something that we're going to look at. And then that, of course, will also give me more time to focus on my businesses and write more books, which is something I'm doing now. But yeah, I would, if I were you, I would seriously start looking into the state of affairs in this country. If you lose Texas, and there is a very large push, and it's growing momentum daily, to not be a part of this, because we are losing ground. I mean, literally. I mean, we're being bought up by other interests, and there are people coming from all over. Kyle says PRT action figures. Yeah, we already made those. We did that with a guy named Charlie who went off the reservation and just started making them for anybody who would ask for one. I saw Shannon LeGros with one, and I saw Derek Mays or whatever. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, you know, no offense to them, but I was like, dude, what? I didn't sanction that, and it even had my little logo on there, and I'm like, what is this? So we kind of got into it, and he went his separate way, and I went mine. But that really sucks. On the board game, Miguel Guerra, yes, we do not have anyone so far that is willing to step up and help to invest. So once that happens, when we get a few investors that are willing to put some money out there, until then, we just got to have to grind it out until we can make the money to produce it, to mass produce it. Which, if things keep going the way they are, we can do it. If we don't start doing better with the live streams, don't know. You know, like I said, we may just cancel it. We don't know. Because the only way that it's actually feasible to do this is if we make a certain amount of money. And the ad revenue has gone up, which is good. Unfortunately, that's something we have no control over. YouTube apparently has decided that they want to push ads like am I speaking out of turn? They're putting their own ads in there, like.
Well, I mean, like if we just upload a video to YouTube and we just monetize it, but we don't manually place ads in it, then YouTube will either put like 1 or 2 for like a 3-hour episode, or it'll put like 50 of them. It's just like
really
kind of the
weird.
luck of the draw. So like every time we do an upload, I have to go in and manually put like an ad every 15-20 minutes.
Yeah, we're trying our best to keep it down, but from what I'm understanding from Josh Nanokio at What Lurks Beneath and a few of the other channels that I'm friends with, they're having an issue, like where ads are being just spammed big time on their stuff. So if they don't go through and mess with it, it's YouTube is going to just throw them on there. But you know, the way that we try to keep things, we still don't ask people to pay for content. If things continue the way they are, though, I may have to do something similar to that, but it'll be like based on a membership program. We kicked that idea around too, but we're doing everything we can to try to keep our content free. Most other channels are moving toward paid content, membership content. We're not doing that. PRT has been committed for a long time to just keeping the content free. That's what we want. But it all depends on donations, and it depends on people stepping up and being, I'm going to tell you something weird. And you may think I'm weird, and I'm going to talk about the people that just donated. Just one second. Thank you all for that. Wikipedia, they always have this push to donate money. And according to what they said, less than 2% actually donate. I donate about twice a year to Wikipedia. Now, you may think that's ridiculous. Why would you do that? Because I don't want some special interest group buying it and using it to lie. It's as simple as that. So I try to do my part. And as silly as that may sound to some people, that is how I feel. I mean, if you think I'm wrong in that, well, you're welcome to feel how you feel. But if you care about something and you want to support it, then support it so that it doesn't have to change its formula to survive. So that's all I got to say about that. Amy Krill, love the live streams. Thank you all for your time and sharing knowledge with us. Yes, thank you, Amy. April and Mojo too says, my 6-year-old is in college math and already has a scholarship to UW here in Washington State. He's sensitive to being called a nerd. Boeing, B&RT research and technology want him proud mom here. You should be.
Wow, that's
awesome.
incredible.
I almost graduated when I was 14 because I was so far ahead. And then my dad and my mom had this huge fight, this big intense fight, and they weren't together anymore. So it was even more intense, and my dad made the point that he wanted me to be in school so I could learn social skills and play sports and things like that. Well, what ended up happening, ultimately, the decision was mine. My mother said, okay, well, let's let him make the choice. She told me to graduate and, get a scholarship, go to college. That's what she wanted. And I did not graduate early. I did not. I went ahead and finished school like I was supposed to when I went to public school. I was going to a private school at one point. John Phoenix, thank you for that donation. Who else?
We have Solo Vino with a $50 super sticker.
Solo Vino. I was trying to go back up. Let me go back down. Solo Vino, thank you for that coming through. Jordan Cogburn, thank you for the donation. Everybody who donates is greatly appreciated, folks. It has been rough for everyone, and I understand that. Christmas, coming off of Christmas, it's kind of hard, and everybody's got to, Can we move this camera over a little bit?
Yeah, which way?
Because, let's see, you might need to go this way. There you go. A little more, just a little bit more. There we go. Okay. That way I'm not partly in the chat. So we got some people in the chat now. Here's what I'm going to tell you. We got a story that came out of New Year's. And like I said, it was in Missouri. I'm looking on a map. It was just south of Carthage. Now, there are actually 3 stories that I'm going to tell from this particular area. And they are all Bigfoot. What did you label this as?
Label what as?
The story.
Oh, I just put general cryptid paranormal stories.
Okay. Because I don't want you to say that it's all this or that because there's more to it.
No, I just kind of gave it a blanket title.
Okay, so before I get into this one, though, there was another one that was it was a ghost. Let me see if my wife remembers. I was telling her about it. Okay. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and like I said, there was one from south of Carthage, and I had the map pulled up. I think I found the other story I was looking for too. There it is. Okay, now this one was on Highway 49. Dang it! Why does this phone do this to me? I really got to get a better phone. I've had this phone for years now, and it's. Then you do an update, and all of a sudden, the phone's like, come on, dude. We know what you're up to, man. We know you just want us to buy products, especially Apple. Dude, people who like Apple, I mean, they're so loyal, and they know that you're going to run out and buy it. You know, they know that you're going to do that. They're just like, oh, you're going to buy it. You know, they could get a banana and put it in a package and say that it's it's an iPhone, and people would buy it. They'd be like, you can't talk on it or do anything, but it's an apple. It's actually a banana, but they don't care as long as it's called an apple. Right, that's all that matters. Now, this is not really in the southeast corner of the state. It's southwest corner of the state. It's kind of Missouri's pretty big, and it's actually like I guess I would say it's like it's not really in the middle. It's in the lower part, but not like it's not down in the bottom corner or anything. And I have 3 accounts that all come from the same area. So I thought it was interesting. One of them was near Joplin, and they were very similar. That's why I thought that there was a connection there. And they were all given to me by the same couple who got me in touch with some other people, which is kind of how it works, at least in my experience. So George Washington Carver National Forest. Okay, there was a guy who went camping. He went deep out into the whatever it is, the Ozarks, whatever. He was down there camping, thick, dense woods where he was at. And while he was sleeping, we'll start with his. While he was sleeping, he saw something glowing that he saw through his tent. And he was with his brother and his nephew. And they slept through the whole thing. But what he saw, what Mark saw in the summer of 2004, was very interesting. He said, dude, I see this something glowing outside of my tent. And he goes, and I could tell through the tent, okay, that it was green. It was a glowing green ball. Now, foliage all around him and everything was green, right? So he thought for a minute there, because there were trees all around his tent, and he thought maybe somebody had a really high-powered flashlight and it was making the leaves, and he thought, no, that's just too far-fetched. He's like, there's something there. And then he saw it kind of start to move around and then zip around the other side of his tent. Now, they weren't sleeping in a little small tent. They had a big dome tent. And he's like, and I was on one side of it. He's like, Bruce, my brother, was on the other side. He's like, and I'm over there trying to get him to wake up. And he's like, he's not waking up. He's like, and then I tried my nephew. I tried to get him to wake up. He's a teenager. And he's like, and usually he sleeps like he's like, I just gave up real quick. I knew he wasn't going to wake up. He's like, when he sleeps, it's like he's dead for a while. And so he's like, I knew I wasn't going to get any help. He's like, I look at my phone. It's midnight, 12:01. He's like, late August. He gets up, he sits up, and he's observing this sphere, this ball that's bouncing around. When it zips around the other side of the tent, he's watching it intently. Eventually, it goes away. It just kind of goes off into the distance, and he can't see it through the tent anymore. It's no longer close. It's no longer close to him. Oh. So what ends up happening, hold on one second before this goes any further. This is Texting Bettina. Okay. So what ends up happening is he eventually gets the nerve to go outside of the tent and look. And he's kind of wandering around on the outside. This guy's got, he's brave. When he gets around the other side of the tent from where the exact opposite of where the front is, which would be the back of the tent, the way that they set their tent up, though, he goes, we really set it at a weird angle. He's like, and you almost run right into some branches when you walked out. He goes, I didn't do it. I was out, hiking, and I come back and it was, whatever. Where he was at, and he told me, he says, dude, it was really thick. And then there was a trail. You had to kind of find the trail. It wasn't too far. It was about 10 yards away. When he gets onto the trail, he says, I get hit with this wind is blowing. He's like, and it's this stench, this overpowering smell of something. He's like, and it smelled like trash, like garbage and urine. He's like, and then he's like, it started to smell blood. You know how it has that irony smell, whatever? And he was like, dude, this isn't normal. And then he looks, and right there, to his right, stepping onto the trail, was this reddish brown looking creature about 7 foot tall. Wasn't super huge and it wasn't super large, but it had long arms and they hung down to its knees. And he said that this thing was just standing there staring at him. He said, and it had this weird mouth where the bottom jaw was not real pronounced, and it was like almost like it had this severe overbite. And it looked like maybe some sort of deformity even. Like a Bigfoot. It was a Bigfoot type creature, ape-like, with very little hair on its face, just up to its, cheeks. And he goes, all this part right in the middle was hairless. And he said, but it had this weird look, like the top lip was hanging down over the bottom. But he said, even then, I could see fangs coming down out of the top of the mouth. He's like, and then it started to like run backwards in a weird zigzag pattern, and then went backwards into the woods about 10 more yards up. And he thought, what in the hell did I just see? What was that? And so he just like turned around and walked back to his tent. And he sat up the rest of the night. And then in the morning, he finally fell asleep. He can't remember what time it was, but he estimated it was sometime between 4 and 5. He passed out and he woke up, and it was in the morning, and everybody was getting up and they were making breakfast, and they were like, what are you doing? And he was like, I had a weird night. I saw this weird glowing ball, like green ball. And then I go out onto the trail and I see this reddish brown creature. I would say it's probably not massive. And not only was it not massive, but it was like slightly built. It wasn't a very big animal or creature or whatever it was. And so he didn't really know what to make of it. So he just told his brother, he's like, I don't know. I saw something very weird, whatever. His brother told him something that he had never told him before. He said, well, Meemaw and Papa, that's their grandparents, whatever, they had an encounter. And it happened about 4 years ago. Well, this encounter happened in 2004, so this would have been in 2000. So in the year 2000, and I will go back to my map to make sure that I get the area correct. This is the couple that I talked to. Very interesting couple. It's kind of funny sometimes when couples argue, but they're kind of like, how Butch and Bev are, my aunt and uncle.
Yeah, it's it's funny.
It's funny. That's what they were doing.
Like, 'cause they don't get heated, they just go back and forth.
They just go back and forth. They just kept correcting each other.
Yeah.
Now this was on Highway 49 going to Carthage. They were headed up to Jasper, and this was an interesting encounter. All right. They saw in the middle of the road what looked like a glowing. Now, they couldn't totally agree on whether it was greenish blue or bluish green, which I eventually just said, look, doesn't matter. Okay. It really
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It was a ball of light about 5 foot around. And as they got closer to this ball of light, it shot backwards and then went up. And you would think that's the end of it. But then about a mile down the road from, they're like, whoa, what was that? A mile down the road, they see two creatures standing on the side of the road. One was black fur, everything black. But now there again, they couldn't agree on exactly which one was, because they said that the black fur had a little bit of reddish brown in it, especially around the chest area. But they couldn't decide on, there was one that was about 6 foot and one was about 8 foot. Okay. But they said that the bigger one was more black fur and red fur, and then the other one was more reddish fur than brown fur. And at first, she was correcting him, and she's like, no, the reddish brown, whatever. And then he said, no, I think the bigger one was darker fur. And then I said, look, there again, it's really not that important, but I appreciate the details. But it wasn't a real long encounter, but as they drove by, they looked and they saw them standing there, and it was just, the thing that got me, though, was that there was a greenish-blue ball of light, or bluish-green, depending on which one you talk to. It was more blue or green. Their nephew had the same thing happen to him. Weird. George Washington Carver National Forest. You got to wonder, why did Grandma and Grandpa see the same thing that he did 4 years before? See, that's what we're going to talk about too coming up. I don't know if it's this coming episode. I think it's the next one, right? The next.
Yeah, it's
Tuesday.
going to be our next, like not this
Tuesday, but the next Tuesday. We're going to talk about an area in the east central part of Central Texas. It's kind of where the east meets the central goes and becomes east, and there's a little triangle there. About 5-6 communities in that little area. Those are just landmarks that are close to where these things are happening, because they're not really happening in those towns. They're happening outside of those towns. Very odd, and you're going to want to hear this. You would have to look at some very, very, how would I say this? You're going to have to look at some very uncomfortable possibilities, because these are predominantly in that area what we were getting. Not all of them. Some of them were gugwee type or Bigfoot, but we were getting, what were they? Tell the audience.
They sounded more like chimeras, like kind of patchwork humanoids, and they were all like different. They were all unique. It was very, very bizarre. Some of them had like bodies of what would look like a werewolf, but instead of a wolf head, they had like a humanoid looking face. And we get into it a lot on the episode, but they're all like just different. It's like Build-A-Cryptid, like Build-A-Bear, you know. It's just weird.
Yeah, and I would say most of them have these humanoid looking faces.
Yeah.
Ugly. Like one of them, somebody said it looked like Gollum.
They look like it was almost like they were deformed, you know, like someone, like a kid tried to just make something out of Play-Doh or something.
Yeah.
The proportions were all off.
Mm-hmm. Really weird. Weird stuff. I mean, it was weird stuff. Some East Texas history. What is that? Nature Explorer. Are you kicking some knowledge here?
Oh, he said, Josh, have you heard of the book, the stories of I.C. Easton, King of the Dog People?
East Texas history, I can tell you, Washington on the Brazos, which we talk about a little bit on that show. It's going to come up. That is where the Texas Declaration of Independence was signed. It's where their Constitution was formed when Texas was a country for 11 years. But that is, yeah, and there are a few reports of dogman, Bigfoot type creatures that are in that state park. I'll say this. I know that a lot of people in that region have seen a lot of weird things. And when you hear that show, which it's not the one coming up Tuesday, but the one after. This coming Tuesday, though, isn't it East Texas too? There's like two different stories on there. Yeah, and so we're just kind of in East Texas, and then I told Anthony and Tony, I said, we're going to have to do a lot of work in that area because there's a ton of stuff coming out of there, a lot of stuff coming out of East Texas, and in particular East Central Texas. And then we talk a little bit about underground facilities, which, you know, we could talk all day on that too. You know, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. You know, they say that tell the folks what you.
Oh yeah, I like towards the end of our recording, I was getting into like just kind of postulating, and I mean I believe that somewhere out in East Texas there's like there's a hidden lab that's somewhere out there that's not supposed to be there. That's not on any records. It's like an unofficial thing because that like and you'll see it. You'll understand once we release that episode 2 Tuesdays from now. That and because the appearance of these things was just so random, like that there was no like consistent rhyme or reason pattern to them, and because of that's what made me think that there's like an underground lab somewhere out there in East Texas. And whenever we had Eric Palacios on the show, he said that he believes that the UT has labs around Texas that are off the books, and I believe he said one of them was somewhere in East Texas, and independent of Eric Palacios, I've also heard that underneath UT that there was like a chimera lab, like there's a lab where they're creating like these animal human hybrids, like doing genetic experimentation and creating living things that they have down there in captivity to there's one right here. Look. Where's he at? Bring him. See, we pulled this little, if you look at this hideous monstrosity here, we pulled him out of that chimera lab deep underneath UT. So, and you know I'm telling the truth because if you look at his eyes, one of them goes this way and one of them kind of goes this way. You know, he's a cockeyed, hideous, he's just grotesque, I mean, just look at him. You know, so this here is proof of what I'm talking about. I believe that this is one thing that people were having sightings of, you know.
Stop messing with that dog. Who wants this dog? Leave him alone.
Did you come out of the UT Chimera Lab?
Were you?
Tell him. Tell the people that they're waiting.
I'm a chihuahua.
No? Yeah, you did.
Give me 1877.
All right. He's a Chihuahua, so he speaks Spanish. He's still learning English, but he's just kind of shy. His English, he has a very thick accent, but I'm teaching him.
He used to say, "Yo quiero Taco Bell," but now he doesn't because Taco Bell's become so expensive that you can't even go there to get free diarrhea. Enough about delicious Mexican food.
Yeah.
What was it? What was that movie with that guy?
Oh, there he is. Okay, yeah. So, Media Palace. That's Eric. He's in the chat. He says there's a very hush-hush primate lab in Bastrop. It should not be there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Bastrop again is East Texas.
Yeah, that and Rockdale, that whole, it's kind of like the gateway to the east. That's Central Texas still. You're still dealing with Central Texas. I would say this. If you're thinking about, like, there was a lab right there off of Colorado Crossing. I mean, there was literally a cryogenics lab that we did security at off of 183. It's defunct now, and they moved to outside the city limits. But there was one over there by Colorado Crossing in southeast Austin. I mean, it was just like some kind of lab. And right there, you could almost see the lights from when we were working at that spot. And when we were working there, that's when I had that weird experience with what it sounded like a two-legged something or other walking around my truck, but it was invisible. I couldn't see what it was. I didn't see it. And I even posted it on Facebook. I was like, and I made a video, and I don't know what happened to it. It's been so long. It was years ago before the show I even thought about doing a show. But something was walking around my vehicle. Two Shadows, thank you for that donation. We appreciate it big time. Seriously. But the other story we got was right out, it was in between Webb City and Carthage. And I believe it was on a back road. Yeah, it was. It was a little back road right there. And these people were out driving at like 7 o'clock at night in a summer night. Clear visibility. It was like a late June summer night. And they were driving and they saw a reddish brown Bigfoot type creature. The woman's name is Wendy. She gave me the story. I don't know her husband's name. But I thought it was interesting because when she gave me that story, like when that story literally came over my phone, I was on the phone talking to another witness named Wendy.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, did she just text me? And they said, this is Wendy. And I'm like, am I talking? I was like, that was weird. Then it was like, the names even both started with an M. I was like, that's weird. Like it was just a weird thing, whatever. But anyway, this person, Wendy, gave me a story, and it was just a brief encounter. The only thing really that stood out to me, it was an 8 foot tall, big, very large though, very not wiry, not no skinny creature with a little. No, it was huge and very furry. The fur even stuck out the way she described it, like almost like. And I asked her this because there was an encounter in northern Arkansas that matched a very similar description of someone, I believe it was northern Arkansas. And I talked about it on DER, where it snatched the deer out of the carcass out of the back of the truck of the hunter. And I think y'all remember that. You remember that story? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because later that guy, did it throw it back at him? No. You're thinking of I'm not gonna say his name, but yeah, I know who you're talking about. That's not him. Oh. We haven't told that one. That's not the one. We haven't told that one. Yeah. You're getting ahead of yourself, son. Look, okay. What happened though? This guy's brother, his wife, like his brother's, I guess it would be, but they're not married anymore. So would it still be sister-in-law? It wouldn't be a sister-in-law anymore, right? No. His former sister-in-law, I guess, would be more appropriate. She had an encounter with a creature that was like face to face with her when she was climbing down out of a tree. She liked to go and climb up these humongous tall trees and get this beautiful view, and then she would do the little whatever. I saw a video of how it works. Not my cup of tea because I don't want to climb up a 50-foot tree, but that's, hey, whatever. She comes down off the tree and there's something crawling down the other side, and she looks and she sees it, and she gets down, and there's nothing to do. I mean, she's not going to go run anywhere. This thing's climbing down out of the tree. And she said that it was almost shaped like a bear, but it had the head of an ape, like a Bigfoot. It was a Bigfoot with a conical head, everything, but a huge, big, massive teeth. But there were no fangs. Now, that's what's weird too, and that's something that I've always wondered about. Why do they sometimes have like these fangs? And then sometimes, like okay, for example, Charles Hamill's encounter, mm-hmm. or I think Ernie DeVoe, who was on the show. His encounter too. They didn't have fangs. Yeah, they just had like these really big, human-like teeth, and they'll have canines just like humans do. But beyond that, they're not these. They're massive teeth, but they're just square. They're not. But then sometimes you'll get these encounters of these creatures, and they're two different things. I don't know what they are, but they have these humongous fangs. And what's even more weird is like you'll get ghost stories and from people, and they'll have an encounter and they'll talk about something in their house, and it'll be a ghost type creature, and it'll be translucent, and it'll have fangs, and you're like, what would it serve to have fangs if you're just a translucent spirit? Like, what does that do? I don't understand that, but I do understand that it happens a lot. But why?
Yeah, I mean,
it's like having a gun as a ghost. Why would you need that? You don't need a gun.
Maybe it's a way to some. I mean, the only thing I could think of, like biologically, is basically based on diet.
That's what I'm saying, biologically, but these aren't biological entities.
Yeah, so it's like it's hard to say exactly what the need to just sometimes have them are. I guess it's if you're trying to scare someone, obviously having fangs would be more to your advantage. But
Or maybe that's the physical form that they're trying to take. They just haven't. They're not able to take it yet. I don't know.
I don't know either. I can't tell you
yeah,
why some entities look the way they do and others, don't. Here's one for you. The encounter though that I was talking about that happened outside of Webb City, between Webb City and Carthage. This woman claims that she saw a Bigfoot type creature that was reddish brown. Once again, but I'll take it another direction. We got one similar to that in that area that she told the individual who gave us her information. She told this other guy, and he said, "Hey, ask her about the chocolate colored one." And so I messaged her back, and I said, "Hey, your former brother-in-law, whatever, says that you." This was in Arkansas. This one was in Arkansas. This isn't the one that the woman saw, the reddish or whatever. This is a different one. And she said, I said, what is the chocolate colored one? And she said, this one was fuzzy. It looked like a chow, but it had a muzzle. And when she started describing it to me, it sounded like a type of dog man. And this is coming from the guy who had the one that got pulled out of the back of his truck,
Yeah.
the deer. He was like, I had a massive buck, and it just yanked it out. Like, but the arms and legs were, what happened? Mushu's Mike's hot right working.
No, it says it's not working. Yeah, I forgot his was off.
Okay, so they couldn't.
That's great.
They couldn't hear you.
Yeah.
Had great insights, but y'all missed it. Had to be there, I guess.
Well, okay, so jumping around a little bit here, but trying to get to the bottom of these weird encounters. One of them that was told to us by this individual who had the deer pulled out of the back of his truck. That was years ago that I told that story. Really, really strange. I took a picture, and I used to like He-Man. I used to play with him as a kid, and the way this woman that was describing the chocolate colored one that she was seeing, it matched the description of somebody she's never met, the Wendy lady, up in, I hope I didn't confuse people, up in Missouri, which that sighting, I said, like it happened outside of Webb City. Very weird because that reddish brown was like the same thing. Like she said, it was like if you blow dried it, and it just like froed out everywhere.
Yeah, it got poofy.
But the arms and legs didn't have a lot of fur. It was like human hair. And then there was like this excess of fur or hair, she couldn't really tell me, on the body. Now, that was weird because the guy that gave us that story about the creature that was pulled out the back. Now, when I corresponded with him, and I think I said this on that show, I said, I have a question for you. I said, I sent him a screenshot of Grizzlor. Look up Grizzlor, because he said that if you added a canine snout to that creature, that it would look very similar to that creature. It was from She-Ra. But, She-Ra and He-Man crossed over. And I wasn't a fan of She-Ra, but I enjoyed He-Man and the She-Ra action figures. Their leader was Hordak. And I remember Grizzlor was like his version of Beastman.
Oh, okay, I
It's
see
like
it.
a lion, man.
Let me see him.
Hang on.
So I sent him
Let
a
me get a good
picture of
picture
that
of it
like
so you
years
can
ago.
show
That was
him.
like back in 2017 or 16 or something.
Yeah, you can just find one, but
Let me see.
because some of them are from the action figures, some of them are from the like art.
Yeah, these don't look like the thing that I sent. Well, there's the action figure right there, folks. You see it? I don't think that's exactly what he was. That's like a more recent version of the action figure. But when I sent, I don't see the photo.
Michelle Delaney said maybe it
Okay.
was.
That's probably a better version of it. I sent him a picture that looks kind of like that, right? So he said, yes, it looks similar to that, but if you took the muzzle and elongated it and made it wolf-like, he said, though, the arms and legs were furry, but it was like a smooth, short hair as opposed to like a poofed out hair. Like if you took a big cat with a poofed out hair, and then he was trying to describe it to me, And what is so weird is that this Bigfoot type creatures, okay, these are Bigfoot type creatures, up in Missouri, and then, of course, another one in Arkansas. Now, I believe that it could be a mistaken identity with the one down in Arkansas having been within about 20, 30 miles of where that hunter had his weird encounter. And then he had this woman whose husband had seen a Sasquatch. So I guess he thought that he had given me his encounter. I hadn't talked to them yet. So when I asked about it, he didn't. He said, no, my encounter was with a grayish looking creature that looked old. It was like a hobbled looking Bigfoot type creature. And it was in the Ozarks, deep in the Ozarks, where he was fishing with some friends. And they saw it on the shore, and it looked like a gray Bigfoot. And his encounter was, and this is the husband of the woman, like when she remarried or whatever. So this is that guy that had the thing pulled out the back of his truck, if you can follow me. This is his former sister-in-law's current husband,
Okay.
right? And I talked to them probably just like in 2020 or something like that. And I got this story, and I just had it sitting on the computer. So I thought, you know what? Why not just throw it out there, because it's all in the same sort of weird genre, you know? What the hell is that? You know, like, okay, the gray Bigfoot, okay? He said that the face looked just like an old man, like if you took a really tall, like 8 to 9 foot tall old man who just was covered in gray fur, except for the face. And he said he had a very mild-mannered look to him, like he was just there getting water.
Yeah.
And he had something slung over his shoulder, like a satchel or something. And they were like, look at that guy. And when they got closer, they were like, that's a giant. And then they were like, no, that's a Bigfoot. And he got water and was drinking it, you know, with his hands. And then he observed them, and they were just going by on their boat. And he just kind of sat there and watched them and followed them all the way. And then he just got up and walked back into the woods.
Huh.
And they were like, we just saw Bigfoot. And that was like in 2001. Now, when the guy that was telling me about the dogman creature that looked like Grizzlor from She-Ra, he was telling me, he says, you got to ask him about the chocolate one. So I asked, and he's like, no, that didn't happen to me. That happened. And then that was when he told me his encounter, which I had not talked to them at that point, but I think the brother-in-law thought that they did tell me. But she came forward and she told me the story that she saw something similar to what he had seen. And his nickname is Buck, so we'll just call him that. But what Buck had seen pull out the buck out the back of his vehicle, and then she was like saying, well, the creature that I saw, she's like, it was a chocolate color. It looked like it wasn't black or whatever, but she's like, it was all frizzed out, and it had a flat face that looked kind of like a Bigfoot, but then it had arms and legs that didn't have a lot of fur on them. So it was very similar. I mean, it was a different color than what he saw, but it was like in the same, I believe it was a different color. It was in the same vicinity though, like 30 miles away. That's close enough, right? So if you think about it, she sees a creature that she claims didn't have a muzzle. I don't think it had anything to do with her current husband seeing that gray looking Bigfoot. I think it's 2 different species or whatever. But then the other guy had a dog. He said it was definitely wolf-like. And so I told her, I said, it's odd though. I said, because you're giving me an account of something that's very Bigfoot-like, right? But it matches the description completely, other than the color of the fur. Both big, massive creatures, smooth hair on the arms and legs, looking very much like this character. But yet, you're describing it with a flat face, no muzzle, and she was pretty adamant about that. And he described his encounter with whatever it was as being like a dogman, and was absolutely adamant about it. I'll take it a step further. He actually said that he believed what she saw was a dogman, because he said that she originally had told him that she saw the same thing he did, right down to it having a muzzle. But when I talked to her, she was like, no, she was very adamant that it wasn't. So I don't think that they're 2 separate things. They sound too similar to be separate, unless the whole lab chimera thing could be a real thing. And maybe they're spitting out creatures that they're splicing with. Who knows what kind of technology they have.
Yeah.
Or we could be dealing with just a mistaken identity. One of them is not getting it correct. Right?
Yeah.
I will say that the gentleman who saw the thing be pulled out of his truck, I'll say that I think he would be right. Only this because his former sister-in-law's current husband, right? He said that he thought what she saw was the exact same thing that the guy originally had seen, buck.
Mm-hmm.
So he said that. And I said, so it had a muzzle. He goes, I think so, when she first told me. But then when she told me, there was no muzzle. So you're sitting there going like, which is it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that is the problem, because somebody that's an eyewitness tells a couple of people, this is what I saw. But then when they tell you, they're completely adamant that that's not what they saw. But yet you have one person that's sure that that's what they said, and the other person that's kind of sure. But then when they tell you, it's like, nope, we're not going to make this easy. It's that's not what I saw. So I'm just going to say, look, it's her experience, if that's what she says she saw. But doesn't it seem kind of odd, though, that those creatures would be 30 miles apart, you know, at most? 25, 30 miles, I guess. And they look so similar, but one of them has a muzzle and one doesn't.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. So anyway, but I just thought it was interesting because, and the reason we brought it up was because the creature that was seen up in Missouri, just northeast of Webb City going toward Carthage, seen looking very similar, like a blow-dried chow, as she said, but without a muzzle. So what is to be believed? I mean, do we have a species of chow-headed creatures running around? As some of them don't have muzzles. Kind of weird.
Yeah.
Kind of weird, I guess. I don't know what to make of it. If you are a dogman person, you'd be like, well, that's a dogman, because you want to believe in dogman. If you were a Bigfoot person, you say, well, that's a weird Bigfoot, but it's a weird Bigfoot. It's
Yeah.
not normal, which is one of the reasons why we're talking about it on this show.
It's like the weird amongst the weird.
Yeah, well, like the creatures that we're going to talk about on the Tuesday after the coming one.
Yeah.
Those creatures, I mean, human-like faces. I mean, that's
disturbing.
That is
really,
really weird.
freaking weird, dude.
But it's not even just normal human faces. But I mean, I don't want to get too into it. I saw an interesting comment that said, like, what is it possible that they're wearing like an animal skin?
You know, I thought about that whenever I interviewed Buck about what he saw.
Well, like
And-
Like some kind of like
Yeah, they could be wearing something like
Oh.
a
like a
skin.
coat or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
like
yeah.
maybe
you
the
know?
arms and legs are not. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, like it's like a
Yeah.
bear or something.
Like
and they
something,
just
some
wear
kind of
something
animal
over
skin
'em.
that makes it look, and there's just actually short, really dense human hair.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, or
Like, that could explain why.
well, how do you explain the head though?
Yeah, I don't. The poofiness is
The
weird.
poofiness of the head and the treasure troll look. Oh yeah, that was another thing that it looked like the treasure troll on the top. We've heard that before.
Oh, with the hair.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. If folks, give me your comments. Tell me what you think. Joe says Island of Dr. Moreau. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think somebody else said that earlier in the comments too. Yeah, you're definitely dealing with some weird chimeric stuff. I can't put my finger on it, but that's what we do in the show, though. We bring up weird stuff and we try to figure it out. But we're going to leave the great state of Missouri and we're going to go down to Memphis, Tennessee for our next encounter, which I thought this one was interesting, only for the fact that it kind of is similar to what the guy saw at the George Washington Carver National Forest. I thought it was weird. Right outside of Memphis, Tennessee, and this guy was a truck driver, and he was driving in, bringing a load, and he said, I was headed to Memphis. I was almost there. I was about 5 or 6 miles out before you start seeing, civilization, whatever. And he says, I see this creature squatted down on the side of the road. And he goes, and I kid you not, it was taking a poop. It looked like it was pooping. He's like, and I'm like, I look, and then I look again, and there's nothing there. He's like, and then I get about 2 more miles down the road, and I'm thinking, man, I am tired. I've been driving for like 11 hours. He's like, I really needed to stop. And I was almost done. He's like, and I was reaching the finish line. He's like, and then I see this ball of light kind of moving around, bouncing, like just kind of bobbing on the right side of my truck, on the passenger side of my truck. He's like, and I see it clear as day. He goes, and it's on the highway. I'll look it up here. It was on highway. It was on Interstate 40. And he had gone through Little Rock and he was going into Memphis, and he said, "Dude, I'll never forget it. It was like a ball of light bouncing around." But that wasn't the last time he saw it. No, there was another time he saw the same thing, and lo and behold, once again, it was in Tennessee, but it was right outside of Bartlett, Tennessee, which I remember that because Bartlett was right outside of Taylor. There's a town called Bartlett, which we also have a ball of light that bounces around outside of Bartlett Granger, and people talk about it. I thought that was interesting, though. He said the second time was 2 years later. He goes, and I was in the same area. He goes, I was northeast of Tennessee, and I was going up the highway, and right outside of a little spot called Bartlett, he's like, which is like a suburb of Tennessee, or Memphis. And he said, dude, I see this same ball of light, but it just shoots out in front of my truck. And he wasn't driving a big rig at that time. He was driving a regular truck. He'd already dumped his load, whatever, and was driving. And he sees this thing go just right across the highway. And he's like, so 2 times in 2 years, and he sees this ball of light. Now, I asked him what color it was. The first one, he said, was definitely green. But the second time he saw a ball of light, he said that it looked like a white ball of lightning. So it wasn't the same color, but the odds that the same guy would see that. And I thought it was interesting that he saw, right before that, he saw, to me, what can only be described as a physical Bigfoot, because it is literally taking a deuce,
Yeah.
And then after that, he sees this ball of light manifest and bounce around. Now, if the weird thing about that, and this is why I think that it's so it's hard to wrap your mind around, is that if it is a flesh and blood creature, which that it would be doing something that was flesh and blood, yes. But then, what was the purpose of the ball of light? Was that the creature itself, or was that something else? Was it a complete coincidence? Why would it be there just literally a couple miles down the road, by his estimation, right after he sees Bigfoot doing something very physical?
Yeah.
I guess we would have to first identify like what that ball of light was, because the unfortunate fact is that you see it with Bigfoot, you see it with some UFOs. Sometimes it's something to do with ghosts. So it's hard to say just by the fact that it is a ball of light to determine what the cause is. Obviously, though, in that area is a hotspot of some sort where you're experiencing Bigfoot and something else. So, and we unfortunately, when there are one thing, there's going to be something else. So who knows what that something else is, or who knows if it is all that same Bigfoot type activity that we're familiar with.
Yeah, because you always get like UFO phenomena like around the same places people see Bigfoot. And I mean, like a ball of light. That I mean, technically, that's that's UFO. It's a flying object. You don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I wonder if that thing was just like bouncing around and like pooping as it was. You just see like these little brown pellets coming out of it as it's bouncing.
I thought that was very interesting, though, that it was doing something very physical.
Yeah.
But then you see a ball of light. Yeah.
If it can become ethereal or whatever the heck that ball of light is, like what is the need of it to do that? Is it trolling? Did it see him coming like a mile beforehand, went down the road?
Let's see if I can get this guy on here. Oh, great. He was active like 9 minutes ago. Todd, if you're listening, I'm trying to get a hold of you so that you can come on and tell your story. And typically we don't do that on Sunday, but I had said there was another guy that was in the chat yesterday, and he saw a demon, and he was going to come on and talk about it. I don't see him in the chat, though. Charlie says, I'm listening. I'm tired. Well, Charlie, don't fall asleep. Waiting to see if this guy. Let me see if I can message him. Oh, there he is. He's. Because I got another story from San Diego. It was a police officer who gave me a story a while back, and I wanted to tell that one. Okay, so this guy's ready. We're going to call this guy and let him tell you a story real quick. What we got here?
Oh, it's cold outside. I don't know if you noticed.
No, I haven't at all. I haven't. How cold is it? I think it's like 16 degrees. So yeah, it's pretty cold.
Did you already talk about the Cowboys?
It's not going to change that I'm loyal to my Texas teams, but they deserve to lose, dude. I don't feel bad for them at all right now. That whole team needs to be dismantled like they did the Oilers. You get what you get. You get up there and you have your opportunity to do something. You didn't do nothing. You get what you get. Thank you for that donation, JD. That was my grandpa's name, literally, JD. Didn't stand for anything. It was just JD. That was just his name.
It's like my middle name.
Yeah. Well, my brother's middle name is G.
Mine's X.
Yeah. Just like G. Yours is X. Well, Stefan, he doesn't even have a middle name, so
We just assigned him one, I guess.
we're just like, whatever, dude.
Tell him to pick his favorite letter.
So let's see here. Okay. I know what I'm doing wrong.
Josh,
Todd, how's it going?
good man.
Well,
I can
yell,
barely
but I
hear
was
you. You're
like-
calling me on Facebook, yeah?
Yeah, you're loud in my ears. It was like
Crap. Hold on.
Yeah. No, but it's
No,
okay.
we can turn it down on our
It's
end.
okay. We can turn it down. But
Okay,
when you said Josh, I don't know if the
No,
listeners they don't actually hear what I hear. But for
No, I'm with you. I got
headphones,
you
it-
now.
Yeah,
I
I can
just-
hear him.
I got my I just bought a brand new phone, so it's all gravy. I got you loud and clear now.
Bernard says, "Todd, you are loud and clear in all capitals."
Hey man, I've been binge watching your show for probably about 2 weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably follow, I don't know, 14, 15 different paranormal channels.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here to tell you, I found yours, and I'm like, okay, well, we got some things in common here. You're talking about cryptids and dumbs and everything. I'm just like, all right, well, I'm hooked. So
Yeah, well, I mean, we try to be well-rounded, but I mean, I cut my teeth on the Dogman phenomenon, that's the name of my book, actually, Dogman,
right,
Werewolves and the Dogman phenomenon. But it to me, I wanted answers. You know what I mean?
I'm with you.
Yeah, the guy that I saw that with, he's still a good friend of mine. I saw him at Christmas time, and his family. We went by and visited with his family. We do it all the time, and every year we go by there and when we do our food drive, and I talked to his brother, and Anthony was with me, and his brother was giving me his UFO encounter. And, once we were with him and he was talking to us, and we had a weird paranormal thing happen in a house that he was remodeling where a guy had
geez.
killed himself, and we had a weird thing happen. And so I was telling Anthony, I said, it's so weird because, I went in one direction and my friend, he became a preacher.
Oh, wow.
But having that encounter, he talks about that to his congregation, even like, look, I've seen what he thinks is a demon. He said these things exist. They're evil. They do what they do.
Yeah.
And, I have made it my mission not to be a preacher, but to spread the word and awareness that this stuff is real and it exists.
Sharing information.
Yeah, and you're sharing information, and there's so much more to it than just this werewolf type creature that people see, or a Bigfoot type creature, or a ghost. It's all connected, and people don't, they don't really get that. And there's a lot of channels out there, but most of them don't cover the whole scope of it. So we try to do that here, and I'm glad that you found us.
Oh, definitely. I mean, like I said, my algorithm for my YouTube channel is not my YouTube channel. The ones I follow, should I say, is nothing but paranormal and just like stuff like you guys talk about. And I do a lot. I'm into a lot of conspiracies as well. So it's I'm retired military, so I have nothing else to do but what the hell I want to do. So
Yeah.
this happens to be it. I've been down so many deep rabbit holes. It's nuts, just like you guys. So,
yeah. And your opinions will change and form and morph
gosh,
into, yeah. So Todd, tell us what happened. The reason for the call that I'm calling you today. What's going on?
Well, this takes place back in 2008. I was stationed at Lackland Air Force Base there in San Antonio.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And I met a gal. And we started hitting it off, spending some decent amount of time together. And her parents, wanted to meet me. And anytime the parents want to meet you, that means something. So I decided to go over there, and we had lunch, dinner, et cetera, et cetera. And they said, "Hey, next week, come over here for let's have a movie night." I'm like, "All right, no problem, cool. Let me make sure I got enough time on my schedule because I was a drill instructor at the time, and I wanted to make sure I had some time." So I spent the week, doing what I had to do, and Saturday night rolls around, and we the family's in there in the living room eating dinner, pizza, sodas, the snacks, movie night stuff. And the way she and I were sitting on a couch or laying on the couch in their living room, I had my view of their hallway that leads to all the bedrooms was straight on. I mean, there's no blockages. So we're sitting there watching a movie, and there was nobody in the house, literally nobody in the house except for who was in the living room watching the movies with us. And the majority of the shadow person experiences I've heard about, you see out of the corner of your eye or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least some of them do. Mine did. I'm watching this movie, and I had out of the corner of my left eye, I see a gigantic black mist in the shape of looked like a man. You could tell it was a man because he was broad shoulders, et cetera, et cetera. And what it looked like he did was just he kind of edged his way around the corner of the hallway where the bedrooms were. And as soon as I saw him, it looked like it was the mist. It was like a black mist, and it just kind of dissipated. So I'm like, okay. And I had never seen a shadow person in my life up until that point. So we go all through this movie. We're watching this movie, and I'm not thinking about the movie now. I'm thinking about what I just saw or what I think I just saw. And the movie ends. We all get up to, 7th inning stretch, whatever you want to call it. And I look at my girlfriend at the time, and I'm like, "Hey, have you guys ever seen a ghost? You guys believe in ghosts at all?" And they're all like, "Oh, yeah, we do. We have one in the house. Did you just see him?" They started laughing. And I'm like, "Do you?" And this was a gal that I was, there was a possibility that we were gonna, she was the one type of thing. But I said, "You think that might have been something you wanted to tell me before we started dating? Your house is haunted?" But no. But anyway, yeah, that was it. And I mean that was literally my only experience in my entire life. I don't have any of the clairs at all, which I don't know is a curse or a blessing, but yeah, that was it. It was a peaceful visit. The thing here's where I kind of connect the dots with this experience. I believe ghosts, spirits, entities, however you want to refer to them as, I believe they're attracted to certain things in certain houses, such as 4 of the kids who lived in that house were special needs. And I'm talking way, way, way special needs. Two of them were autistic, very, very, very low performing autistic,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody in the family except the kids smoked, and everybody in the family except the kids drank alcohol. So yeah, I mean, in excess. So it was like, and I of course I didn't put the two things that those things together at the time. I'm thinking this is a gal I might spend the rest of my life with. She's cool. She was what I was concentrating on, not them. Little did I know, not the best person to be with, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I believe a lot of hauntings are because they're spirits, entities, however you want to refer to them, are attracted to whatever is happening in that house. I mean, they weren't into witchcraft or any kind of rituals or anything like that. It was just they argued a lot, and they were they participated. They partook in a lot of alcohol and everything. So
I'm gonna tell a story while you're on the show with me. That's the only one you have, right, to tell?
Yes.
Okay. So, and while I got you on here, I think it'd be interesting to do this, and I want to get your opinion on this. We were going to talk about, and you had told me a little bit about, through the messages we had, that you had wanted to come on and tell your stories. I said, you know what, I'll do it on a Sunday. I don't normally have guests on Sunday, but I'll let you tell it because it would be a good segue into what I wanted to talk about. After the whole weird Bigfoot creatures, whatever it was that we were talking about earlier, I still don't know exactly what they all were, but there was a former police officer who got in touch with me. He used to work in San Diego. This happened in the early 2000s. And it's not a real long story, but it's very interesting, and it kind of ties into what you were talking about. And I'll tell you how. When he told me this, and he's retired now, but he said, he's like, the freakiest thing that ever happened to me in my life, he's like, there was this couple in my sector where we were at, the section of the city that I worked, regularly. And he said it was one summer and it was hot, and in the summertime when it gets really hot, there's an uptick in spousal problems. If it's summertime, it's really, really hot and people are agitated, and then of course in the wintertime when people are cooped up together, both create a lot of issues. And he said that this couple would fight constantly and they would drink. Yep. He didn't say they did drugs or anything like that, but he said that they were both alcoholics. And then one night they got a call, and so they said, "Oh, this must be the same people." The guy, not the guy. The girl's name was Adrian or Adriana, whatever. And he said, "Oh, it must be Adriana and her boyfriend fighting again." So they already knew, and she had been in trouble for some other things because she was in one in particular story that he told me, she punched the neighbor girl and knocked one of her teeth out. And so she got arrested for assault. So she would actually be the antagonist and attack the boyfriend when she would get drunk. So they thought it was just her acting out again. They showed up. He said both of them were intoxicated. You could smell the alcohol in their breath, but they were not fighting. He's like, it was unusual. They both came running out of the house, and he said, there's something in our house, something in the house. And so he went inside the house with his partner, and he said it was the weirdest thing that ever happened to me. He goes, I go inside. It's like a townhome, whatever. He says, I go inside, and I'm walking up the stairs. He's like, and I see something move at the top of the stairs really quickly that looked like a shadow, like a person, of a shadow of a person. He says, and once I get up to the top of the stairs, he's like, I thought that there was somebody there because I'd never seen a ghost or had any interaction with anything spiritual. And his partner was downstairs sweeping the bottom, going through the kitchen and the living room, and he was going upstairs to the areas where the bedrooms were. And he said that he sees a door slam, and so they reported that there was some sort of intruder in there, right? So he had to go check. He's like, okay, this must be the intruder, The area wasn't exactly the most pleasant area, and his exact words to me were he thought it was a crackhead that had gotten in, and maybe it was somebody that they were dealing with or something, that,
right.
And they knew, And so he thought maybe there was more to it, whatever, but no. when he opens the bedroom door to the master bedroom, he says, I see this being. I can only describe it as a being, and I could see the exact shadow of a person. And it was like a thin, skinny, and when it turned, like the hair kind of whipped around. He goes, and you could see like the hair on the head, whatever, but it was like a shadow. And he's like, and it looked like a female. He's like, and then my partner's coming up the stairs, he goes, and I'm sitting there, I have my weapon out. He's like, and I'm staring at this being or whatever it is. And he says, and I tell my partner, there's something in here. He says, just then, he says, I turn to go back and look, and it's gone, and I see something move like toward the closet. He's like, from inside that closet, he hears this blood-curdling scream, or what he called it, a shriek. And he said it was like, ah. And he was like, it was so loud.
Yep.
And it was so bone-chilling. He said that it shook the closet door. And so him and his partner had to go into that room and then open the door, and there was nothing there. And they could not figure it out. They finished sweeping the building in whatever apartment, and they walked back out. And he said, dude, he never had anything like happen before that. After that, though, he had one other incident. He said, I was taking my son to practice, baseball practice. And he goes, me and my son were talking, and he wasn't a little kid. His son was like in Babe Ruth League or whatever. And he's like, and we were driving and we were talking. He's like, and I'm a big baseball fan. He goes, me and my family, season tickets, Padres, whatever. He's like, and we're talking or whatever. He says, and while I'm talking to my son, I look up, and in the mirror, I see in the back seat of my car. He said, this was about 3 months after the incident or whatever. And he said that it looked like a guy dressed in like an old-timey baseball uniform. And it was there for just a second, but then it was gone.
Jeez, Al.
Yeah, and then he told me, he said after that incident, like he had a few other little things that he didn't know whether or not they could be ghosts or they were actual people. He would be driving on his beat, and he would see what he thought was like a person, but he would look at him and go, that person looks out of place. So he talked to he's of Hispanic descent, so he talked to his abuelita, his grandmother, who was a person that had the eye. She had the ojo, And so when he talked to her, and she said, oh, mijo, if you see one of these creatures, these beings, she's like, sometimes, you'll start to see the other side. So what he did, though, he didn't want to have that. He didn't want to see that. So he started praying and lighting candles and actually going to church quite a bit. And he said it stopped. He's quit seeing what may or may not have been spirits. And if he did see something unusual that wasn't a part of his job to deal with it, he would ignore it. And he said, and eventually it just kind of went away. But yeah.
I like what you said there about the basically the transition to I guess maybe spiritualism, Christianity. I mean, however you want to put it. I found that my dad passed away in 2021 of COVID, and I've had several visitation dreams from him, as well as one of my uncles. So I don't care what anybody says. It happens. You know what I mean?
It does. Absolutely does. Yeah. And we, as people, we try anything we can to rationalize it. Like the people that were working next door to us before they left, I don't blame myself because I don't know if it was me, but when I did the story of the Brazilian exorcist, we started having some weird stuff happen in the studio. We all saw what looked like shadows walking by the door. Okay. We heard noises. I heard a lot of weird noises and stuff. And then the people next door, there was a girl that would be outside smoking sometimes, and I would talk to her. And she was the only one that wasn't Vietnamese. The rest were all Vietnamese, and Tony would talk to them every now and then. But the one girl, she was half African American, right, Tony?
I think so, yeah.
But I think she was like Caribbean and African or something like that. But anyway, she was really cool, and she'd be outside smoking. And she told us an earful about some sort of weird shadow being that was moving around their shop there. Good, and gracious. She said it just started, and I didn't have the heart to tell her, you know what? I was talking to someone about an exorcism, and so I was just like, well, that sucks. I don't know what could cause that. Well, back to talking about the paranormal. See ya. And hey, so
Josh, Before I let you go, I wanted to ask you another question. I didn't mean to cut you off either. I mean,
No, go ahead.
I've heard y'all reference MK Ultra several times, and one of the deep rabbit holes that I've been down since 2017 is MK Ultra mind control.
Hmm.
And you're familiar with Kathy O'Brien, yes?
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, okay. I don't know if that's if that's a good thing for you or a bad thing for you. Do you disbelieve? You believe or no?
If you're talking about like, are you talking about? Is that her name? The one that she had like, if that's the same person I'm thinking about, she has a very interesting story to tell about being like held hostage. Basically, is that what the one you're talking about?
I don't know if she was definitely well. Her story, the Reader's Digest version of her story. She and Mark Phillips. That name sound familiar as well?
Yeah. Are you talking about the one from New Jersey? Is that the same one?
No.
Okay, then
Kathy
this is a
O'Brien's
different
from
one then.
Michigan.
Okay, that's a different person then.
I'd encourage you to research Kathy O'Brien. She's a satanic ritual abuse survivor.
Okay, that's somebody totally different then, because
Oh
one of
yeah.
the people that I was talking about was from New Jersey, and no, her name wasn't Kathy though. It was something else. What was the girl's name that we talked to with? It was right after we talked to Garitano, because I had talked to Garitano about Brian's case. We had gone over the guy that we talked about on the show. And he gave us the name of someone, and that person, and there was a female companion to that guy. And I think her name was like Kirsten or something like that, but I'd have to go back and check. But they were from New Jersey, and supposedly they were held in a facility against their will for like 2 years as teenagers because they were, experimented on as children. When they got older, they were picked up again, and they were never reported as missing by their by their family, which was really
Not
odd.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, I'd have to talk to Garitano about it. There's also another guy that me and Barton have both spoken to. I don't know if Barton's in the chat or whatever, but yeah, when the book comes out, it'll explain a few things. I don't know how much I can really get into on here or how much I can even really say on the book, because like in the Dogman book, and I'll say this on the air, I had to take almost a full chapter out. And then we almost thought we were going to have to do that with the Claudia Ackley. But we just went ahead and left it in there. And as a committee, we kind of had to talk about it and what we should say or do. And several people were involved. In fact, Larry Fisher was one of them. He's right there in the chat. And he talked to her. And we had to come out and talk about it on the show, on the live stream, and announce, look, this book will probably be controversial because I interviewed her not too long before she passed away. So did Barton. So did Larry. He talked to her too. And I think there was a couple other people that talked to her. In fact, I know there was, like Kirk Reed, I think was one of them. But when you talk to these individuals, and I believe the girl's name was either Kristen. It started with a K. Was it Kristen or Karen or something like that? I don't know if it's,
I don't know.
I can't remember.
but it was. I don't think it was.
I thought it
Kathy.
was like Kirsten or something.
Kirsten. Maybe it was Kirsten. Anyway, her and her boyfriend or whatever, they were dating at the time, and there again, just like with Brian, he finds out that his companion or whatever, she was not even really his girlfriend. She was a plant. I mean, if his story is to be believed, you know what I mean? But Garitano believes it. Like when we talked, and he's the guy, that did the Camp Hero with the Montauk Chronicles and all that, going over that case, I mean, and him and Barton both kind of believe that this, I don't know what to believe, when it comes to these. All I can do is retell what they tell you. Now, you can't always say, because I have no way. Their encounters are their encounters. What's going on?
I was just getting a phone call.
A phone call?
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, is it work related? Okay. So yeah. So anyway, Tony had to go work. It's work related. So there's a lot of weirdness that goes on. I can't, all I can do is relay the information. So Valerie Guy says Kathy O'Brien wrote the book Transformation of America. Okay.
Correct.
And I'm pretty sure I've heard of this individual and probably even read excerpts from whatever at some point, because I've read a million things about a million people. But I would have to go back into my computer and look and see what I got on her. The name sounds familiar, but then again, I deal with 1,000 different names on a daily basis.
If you're interested, I've got thousands of hours of video, just like you, I'm sure, on everything you could possibly think of, specifically what you guys are, what your guys' channel references. But Kathy's got a video. It's about a 3-hour and 38-minute video, I want to say. And she starts out by giving a brief history of her childhood, where, her uncle and her dad in Muskegon, Michigan would, for lack of better words, they would be treated not so nicely when they went out camping. And her dad started making kitty videos and got caught sending them through the mail. And a future presidential candidate got a hold of it, and it just started going from there. She dropped some huge names. Now, again, like you said, how are we to know it's true? It's her, it's her saying this.
Yeah, it's their
she's
story.
still alive. She's still alive.
Well, yeah, most of these people that I was talking about, they're all still alive too.
Yep.
But getting them to talk about it in depth is the first challenge. The second challenge is, after they're talking about it, is say, hey, is it okay if I talk about this on the show, or is it okay if I write about this? And then that's a whole nother issue. Two of the people I've talked to as of late, they were not willing to do that. That's 2 out of like 6 though. I mean, but they weren't. I think one of them, she'll come around. I think that, like her husband said, it's just going to take some time for her. The other guy, he's just adamant that he's not going to do it, and he's living in New Mexico, and he's just going to put it in his past. But he gave me some interesting information, and most of which I'm at liberty to use. I just can't use his name, and he's not up to he don't want to talk about it on air. And he asked me to give it some time before I talk about it, and I said I would. So it is something that is hard for people. So to me, and I'm not going to say people aren't above lying and just making up whatever because they want their 15 minutes of fame. But I don't think that these people are lying. I don't think that they're going to just make, especially some of this stuff that's so graphic that I can't even like really put it on the show. And I'm even debating about putting it in the book. Yeah, some of the details are so gruesome. I don't know if I should put it in the book.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's going to do, what kind of rating that would give the book if you talk about too much stuff that's, too in depth.
Yeah, there's you're familiar, are you familiar with the Franklin cover-up from the 80s?
Somewhat. Do you want to get into that?
I can do a Reader's Digest version of it. I have no problem. Your show is amazing. So
sure, go ahead.
Okay, it basically it involved a former FBI chief, Ted Gunderson, and John DeCamp, who is a former state senator from Nebraska. And what they when Ted Gunderson retired from the FBI in '79, he was hired to look into satanic ritual abuse. And what happened with that was he uncovered. He didn't uncover it. He investigated and basically found out that a guy named Larry King, who's a African American gentleman. Well, I won't say gentleman. He's a POS, but he was laundering money through the Franklin Credit Union, and he was hiring people to kidnap kids, and they would have these kids flown out to different areas of the country, such as DC, and these kids would have to participate in different activities that we won't mention on the air.
We're not going to talk about that, but yeah,
exactly. So he for the layman, they would make their head spin,
Yeah.
and it did mine too. It did mine too when I first started, looking into it, and
And when you look
yeah,
at
that's
some
what
of this, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
No, Todd, what I was going to say, when you look into some of this, like with the MK Ultra stuff, it almost seems like, I don't want to say it's like a fake. It's not fake. I don't know how do you say it. Like, how do you say it? Some of it I think is like a cover. You know what I mean? Like just for abuse. It's
Oh, I'm
almost like
sure it is,
they
yeah.
weren't even doing anything. It was just just so they could, and they were using it as like oh, we're being funded, by some sort of shadow government, whatever. And they're like, we're doing experiments, but what are you really doing?
Yep.
It was almost like it
Yep.
was just so they could have a reason to hurt these people, which seemed like the case to me in some of these, because some of it didn't make any sense, or they were just being funded to be satanic. I don't know. I mean, here, Valerie says, I've done human trafficking interdiction since 1996. The strangest victim scenario we came across was MK Ultra satanic ritual abuse victim, Colorado Springs, which is the headquarters of satanic rituals. Yeah, well, that's one of them. Colorado Springs has a huge
One of the many.
yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And so when you look, when you start to go down the rabbit hole of this too, you better have a strong stomach, because some of it is really bad.
No
And when
doubt.
these people tell you what happened to them, they're telling you, absolutely. And then I had some bozo jackass that kind of try to message me and threaten me when I said something about the MK. You better watch yourself, buddy, or whatever. And I'm like, dude.
Or what?
I've had people try to do stuff to me my whole life. Okay, you're not going to intimidate me,
Exactly.
and make me
Or
go, oh,
what?
I'm scared, whatever, dude. I'm not that guy. So, I did the same thing whenever I was talking about I had to take that chapter out of the book of the cover up. There was a cover up, I believe, by some people here in this area, and I think some stuff happened, and I had a police officer tell me to that effect, and then I started getting emails talking about, well, we're watching you and we're doing this and we're doing that. And, Anthony and Tony were like, what do you make of this? And I was like, I don't give a crap. Okay. I'm not going to run away and tuck tail because somebody pops off and makes a threat. I was threatened all the time when I worked downtown, in the line of work that I was in before. And then of course, doing what I do now, I've faced people who are not good, like all the time. And just most recent, like a last weekend, I had some guy like trying to get into my face, and he's some crazy homeless guy, and he has nothing to lose. He has nothing to lose, and he balled his fist up and was like, I ain't got nothing to lose. I don't care. I'll cock you. I'll do this. I'll do that. I was like, no, you won't. You ain't scaring me, dude. No, you ain't gonna. You're not gonna do that to me. And eventually, he thought better of it and walked away because even if he has nothing to lose, I guess the thought of, being in physical pain, extreme pain, and taking an ambulance ride probably got the better of him. And I was like, you ain't going to do nothing. You ain't got no weapon on you. Your little skinny wrists are going to get broken, So I told him, I was like, go ahead, But in that moment, you have to make a judgment call. Do you stand your ground and make this guy leave? Do you try to go and call the police, which could, in a defunded city, could take forever? Or do you just do what you have to do, which comes natural, and just go at him with a bulldog, tenacity, and just, make him leave?
Right. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
One of the things that I was thinking about when you mentioned that those two police officers that entered that house for that couple that on vacation, you don't know how many cops are into this stuff as well. I mean, when I say into this stuff, I'm talking about, they either just believe in it or they've had experiences, but they can't tell their leadership about it because their leadership will think they're nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got plenty of police, friends who are police officers, and I will, I'll talk to them every once in a while over Messenger, and I'll be like, hey man, did you see this? You hear about this? And they're like, dude, go get out of here with that crap. And I'm like, okay, well, I know not to talk to you about that now.
Well, we had Gil, was it Gil Sanchez? Was that his name?
Yeah.
Gil Sanchez came on here, and he was in Colorado, and he hit a goat man, and he told us about it. Well, what's even more shocking, we had was it Hayes? Was he from Hayes County? He was a former sheriff's deputy.
Yeah, I think it was Hayes.
He shot a Bigfoot in the chest, point blank, when he was going into a building.
Wow.
And of course, there was, they're not going to put it on the news because they're going to, it ran out. There was blood, and they were like, "This was just a person." He's like, "No," and he had a witness, a civilian that saw him do it because there was a subdivision that they were building at the time, and this was only like a few years ago. Well, I guess it would be now. It's several years ago, retired, but like he retired. He was telling us about it. We were sitting there talking to this guy face to face. Another guy was a tribal cop, and I was talking about the casino earlier, and he was talking about seeing what he thought was his great uncle in the form of like a giant werewolf right there by the pawn shop. And his uncle told him, "Hey, I saw you on Tuesday." And he's like, "No, you didn't." And he said, "Yeah, you did. I saw you at the right there walking by the pawn shop." And he was like, "Oh my gosh." Well, he had told us, me and Tony and Anthony and Scorp, that he thought that his uncle was responsible for the death of his aunt, which was his great aunt and uncle. But a lot of people said that he did that and became whatever, like he got this kind of power or whatever. And I asked him this question. Of course, he's a tribal cop, and I said, "Let me ask you this." I said, "Being as a tribal police officer, and I said this in front of you, Anthony and Tony. We were all there at the bar." And I said, "Let me ask you a question. Is it more lax because you're native that you guys talk about? Is it more accepted?" And he goes, "No." No,
Probably not.
He's like, not unless you get with certain people and you're behind closed doors,
Yeah.
and you can talk about it. Now, of course, I've had Jerry Williams on the show, and he's Choctaw, and we've talked about these kind of things or whatever. But he even said it himself, like you can't just go up to any random native person, even of your own tribe, and just start talking about it, because there's still some sort of formality there, and then there are still people who. They don't believe it, whether they're brought up in that culture or not. In fact, one of our cousins, Anthony, you know this, they don't believe like we do. They make fun of it and poo-poo it, whatever.
Yeah.
Even though in our culture it's very accepted that this is real.
Right.
That doesn't mean you should go around talking about it. But I do, when my cousin was on the show, and you labeled it Indian Reservation?
Yeah, I think so. Like
Indian Reservation Horror Story or something like that. And it got a lot of views, and he still got some stuff left in the chamber we need to talk about. We never did get to go back, and he had some health problems. He's had some health problems off and on. But he was with a Shoshone woman, and he was staying up there on the Wind River Reservation, and he came across all kinds of weird stuff. And the Bureau of Indian Affairs even showed up one time when he was incarcerated and took an individual who they claimed was a shapeshifter.
I was just going to mention shapeshifters.
Yeah. So, you got these weird, and we've gotten tons of reports from EMTs, police officers, nurses, and believe it or not, even doctors. I got a doctor in Houston that recently messaged Chinese, but he messaged me about, and me and him started talking just because of the holistic medicine thing. He's like, talking about holistic medicine and what he could do to help my gout. And so then we started talking, and it turns out he's a practicing physician in Houston. He's a Chinese American, but he's not. His grandparents were from China. He's third generation, but he very, very intelligent guy. And one of the things he told me was like one of his patients, like, oh my God, this is so weird. Like one of his patients had double rows of teeth, 6 fingers on each hand and toes.
It's a Nephilim.
Yeah, like polydactyl. It's very weird. And he said that this guy has never been sick in his life, never had a cavity, never had anything happen at all. And the only reason he showed up in his office was because he got gout. So thought that was interesting. Yeah. Yes, Amy Creel, wow, an MD who's open to holistic treatment. Yes, only because his grandmother, who taught him a lot about healing and things like that, and he was into cupping. He was talking. I don't know if you know what that is.
Oh yeah.
But, anyway, yeah, there's all these different remedies and things, and he was talking to me about gout, and he was giving me a bunch of suggestions. Which cool thing is, my wife is like my nurse, and she just dotes on me and takes care of me, and when she does a really good job, at taking care of me, I'll let her eat that day. That is the agreement that we have. Some men won't do that. I'm not that guy. I let her eat at least twice a week.
You're a good husband.
And I let her go outside
I love
sometimes.
it. I love it. Yeah.
She's over there. She's probably going to kill me when I get home. She's going to beat me. She's going to jump on me. No, I love
she
you,
won't have
honey.
to do that. She'll just have to like not take care of you and just watch
Exactly.
you
Watch me
deteriorate.
deteriorate because I'll do all kinds of bad things.
Yeah.
But
Hey, Josh?
yeah.
What? God, I keep interrupting you. I'm so sorry. I was going to ask you.
Go
a really
ahead. We're
weird
just
question.
joking around. What's going on?
What is the craziest thing you've ever seen reference your show?
The craziest thing that somebody's ever told me that has happened to them?
That or I mean something
Or
you
somebody
might have
come on
seen.
and told
I
it?
don't.
Or-
Because you got stuff like that lady on the airplane talking about I don't care what anybody says, that thing there is not real, all that crap.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows if she's psychic or if she's got media, she's got one of the clairs, or if she just wanted her 15 minutes of fame. Who knows? But there's got to be something in your repertoire that has to just something that made you go, oh my gosh, no way.
There has been so many weird things. Like right now in the chat, somebody just said something. Andrew Brown says there is a lot of stories of people finding tombs in Utah with Nephilim giants buried in them. Here's a weird story, and I'll tell you this one just about Utah. I was on the show, and this is what happens on the show, Todd. I'll talk about something, and inevitably, Anthony can attest to this, we'll get stories from people who watch the show. Now, maybe it didn't happen to them, but it happened to someone they know, and they'll hook you up with it, and then you can get the story. That's kind of how the show is kind of just grown organically. I did do a lot of stalking about in the groups.
Yeah.
I'm in like 200 of them or whatever.
Yep.
And so I do talk to a lot of people from the groups, and then a lot of people, they never even heard of my show, and I'll just tell them, hey, I have a show. And inevitably they'll check it out and they'll see, hey, this guy's not full of crap. He's got a show and he does okay. I'll talk to him. That's typically how it goes. Well, this individual heard me talking about Brian Head, Utah, and he said that I was about 20 miles north of there. He's like, and I was leaving Brian Head and I was going back up north, and he lived somewhere like in Provo or something, and he was heading over there. And he said that I was north of Brian Head. He's like, and I was with my wife, and a bad storm hit, and it was one of those late summer storms. And he goes, and it was just sweltering hot that year. And he's like, and in Brian Head, it was about 80. So that's hot for Brian Head. It's up in the mountains. I remember going there in the 90s, and there was some lady there, and she's like, it's been so hot here. I was coming from Vegas.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's 115 in Vegas. It's 78 here, and you're talking about it's hot. She goes, well, it's hot for us. So I guess that's like Texas. It's like, okay, it's 16 degrees here. It's cold for us.
Right.
Or it's 19 degrees, whatever. But anyway, the point is that he said it was unseasonably hot, and it was just so bad, like the mosquitoes were bad, and it was not usual. He said, and we pulled over because this horrible storm hit, and it was getting dark, and he's like, and it was just a freak storm out of nowhere. And he said, as the lightning was striking into the sky, and I was talking to my wife about this story earlier, they saw this wolf-like creature that was, as the lightning would strike in the sky, they saw it between these two clouds, and it looked like a wolf, like not a werewolf, but just like a wolf on four legs. And he said, and it was moving in the sky. They could see it moving around in between these two clouds, almost like they were looking through a portal or something. But they could only see it when the lightning would strike, which it was a very electrical storm. And it was just like, shock, and the lightning would shock the sky and light it up. And he goes, we saw it like 4 or 5 times. And he's like, it was unbelievable. He goes, we tried to take a video of it, but you can't see anything on there but the lightning because it was so bad because it was raining. But he said that it was incredible. He goes, I'll never forget it. And so Utah, yeah, it's a very weird place. A lot of weird stuff happens there. When I had Chris Kramer on, he was talking about Utah and Arizona. But if you're listening, I don't put much stock in it because you're an Eagles fan. So there, But I'm joking. Chris is over there messaging me during the Cowboys game. Can you believe this? He's like, I'm loving it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm looking at this disaster. But like I said before, sports is not the center of my existence. Some people they do make it that, and it's not for
Right.
me. It's just a fun thing, and then you go on.
Did you see the huge, I'll call it a Nephilim giant that they pulled out of the ocean in that diver's suit just recently? Oh gosh, I'll have to send you that video. I had a gal send me a video, and it looked like a gigantic. It looked like a Nephilim.
Dude,
what you would think
send me the link to that because I get links to stuff all the time, and I don't always have time to watch it. But yeah, if you send it to me, I'll check it out. There's a few things that I've seen. There used to be. Let me tell you this. There used to be a place in Arizona, and I've made the trek from Texas to California multiple times. And there used to be a place in Arizona, and you could stop there. And I can't remember the name of it. If my wife text Nellie and ask her the place where they had the two giants.
Okay.
In Arizona, she'll know what I'm talking about. And the last time we stopped there, they had the sarcophaguses closed, and you couldn't look at them. I don't know what was going on, but they're these huge giants, and I saw them the first time I saw them when I was a child, and they were supposedly, I think that they said they're over 1,000 years old, and they were like giant, just at this little road stop museum, in Arizona, and they were just like these two. Like one is like 9 foot tall. I think the other one's like 11 foot, and they're like mummies, like Native American mummies. But you would say, hey, these are some kind of Nephilim or something. I mean, that's what they look like. They appeared to be something from the antediluvian period. It's really, really weird.
Huh. Interesting. Very interesting. But those clouds, though, that experience you just talked about with the clouds in reference to the it looked like whatever it was in the clouds, it was when it was all storming and thundering. What do you think? What do you think about could Project Bluebeam could have possibly caused that?
I got a friend who I got to get him on the show, and we'll go over some things about Bluebeam. I'm not even going to get into that right here. When I record with James Bartley, check that out because that guy's got a lot of information, and he's kind of down on that, and I know why. I got my own reasons too because I think that there's and how I look at things, just so you know and the audience knows, I'll just tell you point blank, Todd. I look at things kind of like there is whatever they're telling us. Then there's like another layer there that's kind of the middle, we don't know for sure. And then there's the truth. You know what I mean? Because even when you dig down into that first layer, I've made that mistake and thought, oh, eureka, I found the end. No. They insulate things very well. And then you don't find the truth until you dig a little deeper, typically from someone who's kind of scared to talk about it, but they're going to go ahead and tell you if you can get to them. Because they don't know who to trust, or they've already been threatened, or somebody has said something to them, like don't say anything, don't do this, don't do that. I had a woman from Las Vegas most recently who was wanting to talk to me about the shooting that took place there. And at this point, I lost contact with her because she was talking about it. And this is what she said. She said that she knew all about it and that it was a sacrifice. Those are her exact words. And that's why it happened at the Luxor, which is the pyramid. Yeah, and so
are you talking about the shooting in 2017 with Jason Aldean concert? Okay.
Yeah, the guy that had he was a communist, the one that they said did it. He was one guy, but there were supposedly shots coming from different directions. But that gets into a whole nother ball of wax. Which yeah. So, but she was telling me, she's like, I got the inside track on this. I'm going to tell you this and that. And when I talked, she was very frantic, and then I never heard from her again. So, you get stuff like that all the time, man. And so Mo Ali says, did you set your settings up? We can't rewind the show during the live. Yes, Mo, because we had too many people who were doing like they would rewind it or they would start it from the beginning and then they would make a comment on there and it wasn't keeping up with the chat. They were talking about something that wasn't even, going on or whatever. So that's why we had to change it, or Anthony did. But anyway, Todd, thank you for coming on, and keep in touch, and send me your information if you like to do sleuthing and dig into things or whatever. You want to help out? I'd be come back periodically with what you got, and maybe you can shoot the breeze with me and bring up some information that we can talk about.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for having me, dude. It was like I said, I've been binging your shows, and it's definitely we definitely have some common ground to talk about.
Well, what do you think overall? If you had to give me a grade,
Oh my God, dude! I would have to say I would have to say a B plus, and I'm gonna tell you why B plus. I'm not gonna give you a straight A because you guys do jaw jack a lot. You
Okay.
jaw jack a lot.
Yeah.
There's some,
Yeah.
when you get to talking though, you get to talking. You know, and that's why you got me hooked.
yeah,
I mean, for your haters, it'll say, "Oh my God, stop with this jaw jack, f them." They don't
Yeah.
want to listen. You know, they don't like it. Tell you know, there's other YouTube channels to listen to or to talk
that's
to.
right. And I just got a thing today. Somebody messaging me saying, "Hey, I'd like to help you work on doing this and doing that." And I thought about it, and I was like, I don't know if I need to change anything, because I like the way it is. I mean, I don't do this from a business standpoint. This is not a business to me; it's a hobby, and I want to keep it fun. Once it starts not being fun, then I'm not going to do it.
No doubt, absolutely.
Yeah, and what?
I was going to say that Nelly said that museum you're talking about, it's I think it's called the world's smallest museum. It's in Superior, Arizona.
Superior, Arizona. There you go. There you go. Yes, so go check that out, folks. I don't know if they still have the mummies there, but they had them since I was a kid. And hopefully they're there. But Todd, thank you for coming on and talking. I'm going to let you run, man. But let's stay in touch, and definitely send me that video. We'll talk again off air.
Absolutely. Take care.
Yeah, you too, buddy. All right, bye. So that was Todd Burt, good guy. A listener of the show reached out to me and wanted to come on and tell his story. And I just said, why not? You know, it's Sunday. I usually don't bring guests on, but I felt like he would be somebody that could help me segue into what I wanted to talk about with a San Diego shadow person, whatever that was. Taking my glasses off like we're done here. We're not done. Oh, Sabiti says, do you have any stories from Niagara Falls? Yeah, I do, actually. I got one not too long ago. Well, no, I say not too long ago. It's probably like last winter already. That's probably, when you're old, you just kind of start to think, hey, man, it was the other day. And that was like 1997. Okay, you're like, the other day I was at Bill Miller and I was ordering some food, and I'm like, that was 1999. Never mind. No, somebody gave me a story about that, about Niagara Falls, and I think there's even a book about like the haunting. A lot of people have died there, and a friend of mine, in fact, Alex's dad, who he committed suicide in 2011. Was my best friend, and that's Alex is my godson. Many of you have probably met him at the conferences that we've been to, and he's a photographer, and he does a lot of videography and things like that, and he helps with like the pictures and things for the books. But here's the thing. Roger, that's his dad. His uncle committed suicide there at Niagara Falls. Got up onto the wall when he was a child and was there. And this guy just like jumped backwards into the falls. So yeah, he unalived himself in front of his family. Like, why would you do that? I mean, but the falls is a very weird place. And most recently I got somebody who had told me a story about Niagara Falls and about seeing this, what looked like first it was like a sphere. Of course, we were talking about spheres earlier. And then it was like a pink ball of light that came up out of the falls. And this guy was with his girlfriend, and they were sitting there looking at it. And it turned into what looked like a woman, and then kind of backed up and went back into the falls. But like it had to be a spirit, because no person could do something like that. So yeah, there are some weird things when it comes to that running water. It's just a weird thing, dude. So let's see. Charlie says, got to get to bed, have doctor in the morning, so all of you stay warm. Yes, Charlie, and I will try to get on that, sending you a shirt. Make sure you give me your shirt size. The other thing I was going to say is we are going to start doing the giveaways again, but well, I'll just put it this way. We were going to start, but I'll be real honest. There's a very tentative piece right now that may be untenable. I don't know. It just seems like that other side is like starting to ramp up the activity, and that camp just doesn't seem like they want to. It just doesn't seem like they don't want to. They don't want to quit, which is affecting how we do things. Whether I can accept friend requests or do mail offs, because I do have legal counsel who is, and unfortunately, I'm probably going to have to spend money to get this situation because I just can't deal with it anymore. The other side is telling me that I need to give them money, okay? Which I'm like, I'm not giving you anything. I don't owe you anything. I didn't do anything to create that situation that I'm not even going to talk about because it's going to become legal probably. But unfortunately, this is the world we live in. And whether it is the main guy that's behind it or not, I don't know. I'm not going to accuse him because I don't. He's not using his main account for it, But somebody's doing some things and they're saying things, some people, and I'm not going to mention names right now. I'm just letting you know that this is what's going on. And so, and one of them, I guess, got a giveaway from me a long time ago, and she used it as an end to try to say that we knew where she lived. So that became an issue, and I don't even remember where the heck she lives. None of us ever did anything to them. They live up in is it Virginia or West Virginia? I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
And I don't remember which state. I don't even remember which state it is. I know that the person's a lunatic and is constantly causing trouble for us, or trying to anyway, and get a rise out of me. And stalker. It's become stalker situation. And unfortunately, a lot of my colleagues are going through the same thing with various other members of crap. In case you didn't know, what is it? Cretins again? No, it's
Crusty Rejects.
Crusty Rejects against paratroopers. There's Tony coined that. I keep saying cretins. Cretin Rejects, but it's Crusty Rejects against paratroopers. So members of crap are and they've actually kind of created like this loose little confederation where they're all on the same team and they're against me and my colleagues. And so, more power to them. God bless them. Let them try and do, But we here at PRT are above it, okay? And we're going to do what we're going to do, okay? And I'm not going to give in to extortion, which is what it amounts to. And I'm not going to give in to people browbeating me and trying to lie about me, slander me, libel me, whatever. I'm not going to do it, okay? Let them say what they're going to say, okay? It has taken up enough of my life and enough of my time dealing with these people. But they don't stop because they don't work, okay? They don't. And I'm sick and tired of defending against these people. Every day they come up with some new allegation or some craziness. And so the best thing I can do is just turn it over to a lawyer and let them sort it out, because obviously it's not going to end. It's not going to stop. But it's not going to end well for them, okay? Because if I have to put all this money into dealing with this, I'm going to take it all the way, okay? If you're going to force me to do it, then I'm going to take it all the way. I don't want to do that. I want to be left alone. Thank you, Joel, for that donation. We greatly appreciate it. It's probably going to go for my legal fees. But it sometimes, like I was talking to one of my colleagues yesterday. He's going through something very similar. I'm not going to say his name because, I don't think it would be polite. But he's dealing with a stalker situation and has been for a while. And he was telling me about it, and I think it's horrible. These people showed up, came into his neighborhood, These people are deranged. They're deranged. And there's nothing you could do. They're bugs. You can't make peace with bugs. You're not going to have that. It's just not going to happen. As much as I want to believe that there can be peace, As long as people in that camp continue to harass me and my family, there won't be peace. There won't be. And I'm going to have to do what I got to do. And I dig it. I wish that, we could be at peace, but I just can't see it happening, Larry Fisher, thank you for that donation. Larry Fisher and Sons, he's been what am I looking
Sponsor,
for? Sponsor for a long time. Thank you for that donation. One of the things that I want to talk about too before I run is that, there are a lot of people who've sent me their stories. You've sent me your information, and I appreciate it. I really do. But I don't like that people get offended if I don't tell their story like right away. And then when I do tell them, I'll message them and be like, hey, I told your story, or whatever. They're like, oh, it's about time. Well, you don't have to send it to me. There's other people that you can send your story to if you feel like they should tell it, okay? Or you want to go on their show. You do whatever you got to do, whatever you feel comfortable with, okay? I'm not going to browbeat you. I'm not going to be mean or ugly, and I'm not going to say anything back to you, okay? But that does happen. And I am also, I love to give people stories. I love to get stories from people. I love to talk to people, interview them. And they can tell the story, or I can tell it, whoever, how they want to do it. But you got to understand something. It is, it all depends on what we're doing. Okay. It isn't a first come, first serve thing. It is like whatever project we're doing, then we'll talk about that. So we have these big projects and mini projects, and it's this woven tapestry that goes in and out, in this show. That's what it is. So I'm explaining that to you. Okay. Sorry for the jaw jacking. Okay, I'm just trying to tell you, this is what's happening. Exactly, Kyle. I believe that too. Just reading some of the comments here. Holy Grail. Anti-honey, got your dead. Yeah. Oh. And just do me a favor, folks. If you could find it in your heart and you have time, just say a prayer. Say a prayer for me and my family and my people and the listeners. We don't want any more conflict, okay? We just want to be left the hell alone. That's all I want. I want that more than anything. I don't want to fight. I just don't. I mean, I will if I have to, and I'll be vicious. I'll do what I got to do, man. I'll come out swinging. I don't care. If you're going to push me to that point, I'm going to latch on, and I'm not stopping. I'm like the world's largest honey badger. Trust me. Tenacious with a capital T. Joel, thank you for that donation. Once again, I appreciate that. Joel Osminski, appreciate it. But it's not something that I'm desiring. I don't want it. I just want to be left alone. That's all. I've tried pleading with these people. I tried talking to these people. I don't know how much the main guy, how much he can control. Before anybody goes out and tries to blame him or attack him, you got to give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't know how much of it he has any power over, but it is people in his camp, that are doing it, But if you're associated with them, Scorpion just messaged me and said somebody named Andrew was asking about the key. Are you talking about the key?
Oh, the little gargoyle key?
Yeah, the little, well, it's not a gargoyle. What is it?
I mean, the
skull with bat wings on it or whatever?
I put it like in a very specific place somewhere. And I told myself I'm putting it right here because I'm going to remember where it's at. And now I don't remember where I put it.
Oh, gosh. I was wondering because we haven't seen it in so long.
Yeah, I mean,
it disappeared again.
It'll turn up somewhere. I don't remember where I put it.
Yeah, it'll turn up in some weird place, almost guaranteed. Corey Cole, yeah, I'm not taking anybody out to dinner for that. I can tell you that. I'm not doing that. We got enough issues. We don't need to, bring them here to take them out to dinner. Stephanie, thank you for that donation. We appreciate it big time. I think though, you know, and then there's this whole new thing going on with I'm not going to say the guy's name, but the supposed guy from the LBL. Like, he's just, you know, back at it. You know, I just can't catch a break. You know, we just, like I said, we just want to be left alone. That's it. You know, people making videos every day saying something about me, talking trash. Why? What the hell am I hurting? What am I doing to you that you're so offended? The only thing I can think of for these people is that we're successful. And we're not like major successes. We're not, what do you call it? Like, we're not rock stars, you know, but, you know, we do okay.
Yeah.
But it seems like these people are so angry and so jealous. Salavino, thank you for that donation. Thank you once again for your donation. That's 2 from you today. But like with Barton, you know, like he posted, it was on his show, was it last Wednesday? Just to bring you up to snuff, Barton posted a really cool video of a portal that was given to him by a woman. So this guy, the survivor from the LBL, supposed survivor, whatever, with his alleged story, he gets mad, you know, and starts like saying, "Oh, I can't believe Barton did this," you know, blah blah blah. And I'm just like, why? I don't understand it. What is the purpose of this? What is the point of this? Like, why? Why does it offend you? And why did I offend you? What did I do to you, dude? I mean, you came at me and started all kinds of crap for like 2 months. It went on, and it was like, for what? You know, and just when you think you're cool, then he makes some veiled comment about me to Barton, you know, saying that I typed his last comment to him or something like that. And I'm like, I did no such thing. I wasn't involved in this. But inevitably, you know, like the slosh boss lady, she gets up there and goes on a rant, and of course it involves an hour about how much she hates me. I don't know you, lady. I've never even laid eyes on your hideous face in my whole life. I've never heard of you. Never heard of you. But apparently you've had it in for me for however long, and you decided to get all drunk and just go on a rant and come at me, Josh Turner. Like, why? Come at you for what? What do you have that I want to come after you for? The only thing I can think of is that you're a drunk, deranged person who needs AA. That's all I can think of. And why these people do what they do, people ask me that. Why do people attack? I have no idea. I don't know what I did to these people. I didn't know they existed. You know, but they just, you know, it gets old after a while. You know, I'm going to be honest with you folks. I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I almost didn't come into the show tonight. I almost didn't. You know, I was sitting there and I was tired. I'm not feeling 100%. You can hear it in my voice. I'm still getting over a sickness. And, you know, it's freezing cold here. And I thought, why even bother to do this? You know, we haven't done too well financially with the show as of late, you know, but it's because of Christmas. I know that. And everybody's hungover from Christmas. I mean, you know, and don't stop taking care of people at Christmas, because that's what you got to do. Okay? But, you know, and I just thought today, I'm just going to take it easy today. But then I thought about it, and I don't miss workouts if I can help it. And I don't miss the show if I can help it. And I go out every night and I do my guard checks and I do what I got to do. It's just what has to happen, because somebody has to keep the country going. Somebody has to get their ass up and take care of things while the other people sit around and don't work and bitch and complain and throw barbs at you. But so they can have that right, somebody like me has to go and do the work. While they sit around and when they're ever expanding rear ends and don't work.
Yeah, we got to work to feed you. We got to pay our taxes so you can draw that government money and go and buy your cheeseburgers at McDonald's or Burger King, whatever garbage you put in your body.
Curtis Turner, thank you for that donation. People don't get how good the PRT team is. Humble and genuine. So proud to be their friend. Love you all. Just upgraded a $20 tier. I hope everyone joins me. Thank you for that, Curtis. I appreciate it. Long-time friend. Not related, but still got a cool last name. And Carney48 says, this is Todd. Just sent you the link to that possible Nephilim video. And thank you for that donation. I appreciate it. And thank you for coming on the show, Todd. Linda Webb, always praying for PRT and all of your families. Thank you, Linda. Pray for you, too. And, of course, Salavino, who gave us the 20 and then the 50 before that. Thank you to everybody who's donated and helped out. You've been such a great audience, and I'm sorry for the 20, 30, whatever, how long it was, minute rant. But this is the live stream, and I have to bring you up to snuff. And I'm sorry that we have drama. We don't want it, and we're trying to not have it. And I promise you, okay, I'm doing everything I can to avoid it. I don't want problems. And in fact, I'm gonna say something on the air here. Mike, if you're listening, get your people under control. I'm asking you, please. I'm not saying that you're behind it or you're doing anything. But if you could, please rein these people in and get them away from us so that there's not this skirmishing going on that's going to lead to the end of our peace. I'm telling you, I don't want that. So, Mike, if you're listening out there, I'm appealing to you to do the right thing and get your people under control. Okay? I don't owe anybody anything. I can't be involved in that situation you have. It's unfortunate, whatever. I wasn't behind it. Okay? I'm being accused of it. I didn't mastermind or plan anything other than defend myself from attacks. Okay? That's how I feel about this whole situation. I didn't enter into some agreement with your enemies or whatever. What they got going with is with you. That's what they got. That's not me. Okay? And there is no trail to me saying that I did anything to you on their behalf. Okay? I'm saying that publicly right now. So if you could please get these people under control, that would be greatly appreciated. Otherwise, I'm going to have to start defending myself, and it's going to get worse than it was before. I promise you. It's going to be worse than it ever was. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be real ugly. A lot of stuff's going to come out. You watch. And I'm not making a threat. I'm just telling you because I swear to you, I'm going to put every amount of money and resources I have into legal counsel for this situation. And we're just going to get the ball rolling. And everybody who gets in the way is going to get steamrolled. Because I am sick and tired of trying to live my life and being attacked every day. Folks, you have no idea what it's like. You can't just block and delete these people. It does not go away. It does not stop. It just keeps going on and on and on. And you try to make peace, they don't let you. Barton says, are you busy after the show, Wolf? I have some more comments I need you to write for me. Yes, because I need to write the comments to rebuttal to these people, right, Barton? I need to help you, okay? Barton's an author. He's a very capable author, a very good author. Go read Inhumanoids. Go read Mysterious Kentucky 1 and 2. And tell me if the guy that wrote those books, and I'll repeat them, Inhumanoids or Mysterious Kentucky 1 and 2, if you think he needs my help writing a book or writing comments or writing anything, writing a phone number on a napkin, okay? I don't think he needs my help. He's quite capable with a pen. And probably with his fist, too, so you might want to watch it. And he's got swords and other types of assortments of things. He's quite capable of defending himself. He's nobody's patsy, okay? I've hung out with the guy a lot. Trust me. I can tell you this, though. These people, you're not going to win. You're not going to win with us. We're not cowards. We're not going to back down. I'm not going to get pushed around, and I'm not going to be extorted or cajoled into doing something that I don't agree with. And what these people have, their domestic squabble is their domestic squabble, not ours. So, anyways, everybody's been such a good crowd tonight. I appreciate everything, all the donations, and I appreciate all the help and the kind words. What should we talk about? We got about 20 minutes left of a 3-hour show. What do we do?
There was one guy who popped up. He kept asking about a Duende story, and I think he was asking about it yesterday too. like that's the only comments that he leaves is asking about that story. And I think like yesterday you were gonna get to it, but
Are you talking about the gnome in Tijuana?
I guess so.
That's the most recent one of, we call it the little monitos duende, whatever. I don't know. I got a guy who keeps sending me a message on Messenger, or not Messenger, email, saying that he saw a Wendigo. He keeps saying, I saw a Wendigo, I saw a Wendigo, I saw a Wendigo. I think his name is Daniel or Danny. Anyways, got a very interesting last name. I don't want to say his last name out loud, but it sounds native. But anyway, Danny, if you're listening, okay, you saw what you believe was a Wendigo. You saw what I believe was a Wendigo, and you talked about it. You sent me an email, I think the first time was about 4 months ago, right after my conference. And you claim that this happened near the Wind River Reservation, like right, I think just south of it in Wyoming. And it happened. That's from Amy. She was asking a question there. Amy, if you're listening, I don't know why you wouldn't be able to. If you subscribe, you'll be able to comment.
Yeah, like we have it set up, Amy, to where like you have to be a subscriber for at least 2 days, I think.
Maybe that's what it is. So shame on you for being my hairstylist and not subscribing. It's free. Jeez. And I'm also mad at Meredith because she's a Packers fan. And I'm mad at Ken Gerhardt because he's a Packers fan. And I hate Packers and cheese in the state of Wisconsin. I hate people do it around me. I'm joking. I don't really care. Cowboys got what they deserve. Go Pack. I hope the Pack wins next week and goes on to the Super Bowl and gets blown out by the Texans. I don't give a crap. I hope the Cowboys next season, I hope they lose every game. You think I'm joking? I'm going to actively root against them every game. Because that game right there was pathetic. If you can't show up and do what you're supposed to do, you don't deserve to win. So I don't give a crap. I hope that they get rid of their coach. So Amy, my hairstylist, is saying, by the way, I need a haircut. You can see. She said, okay, so ask. She just messaged me, and then I'll get to this Wendigo story. Anyways, I'm waiting for her to respond. She had a question. So here's the Wendigo story that I got. Okay, and like I said, this guy messages me. I think his name is Daniel, but he goes by Danny. So one of the things that Danny told us was that he was out hunting south of the Wind River Reservation, and he was down near a creek, and he was crossing over it, and he slipped, and he fell into the creek, and it was spring thaw. So he went down the stream a little bit, and then he managed to grab a hold of a tree root, and he pulled himself up, and he lost his weapon, so he got up and went to go and slosh back through whatever. When he gets back to the spot where he lost his weapon, and he said this was New Year's Day, I think he said 2011, yes, 2011. He gets back to the spot, or not New Year's Day, I'm sorry, I'm getting two stories mixed up. This is the spring, it was a spring thaw, and it was like late April or something like that. And, but there was another story I got from New Year's Eve. This one happened in 2011, in April of 2011. What happened to Danny, he says, dude, you're not going to believe this. I said, try me. He's walking back, and he's like, and I'm looking down, and I'm like, I'm wet. Now I got to get back to my truck, and I got to go get back home before I get sick, get soaking wet. It's cold. He said, even though it's late April, and it's the snow and everything is thawing, he's like, dude, it was freezing cold. It was like 32 degrees or whatever. And he said, I had to get my gun. I dropped it. And he's like, and I'm walking, you know, and I can't believe how careless I was. And he says, when I get back to the spot where I left my weapon, he says, this thing was so white, I almost didn't see it. It was sitting in the snow, and it was holding my weapon and observing it. He said, it turns and it looks up at me. And he says, the face, he described it like this. It was white, completely white, covered in fur, face covered in fur too. And it had like wild looking hair that was white. And it almost looked human in the face, but not quite. It had a small muzzle with really, really pronounced canines. He's like, and it had a weird tail. And the tail actually looked prehensile, like a cat. Very bizarre. And he said that it was sitting down on its haunches and it was holding his weapon and it looked up at him. The eyes were pink, kind of like albinism or something. And he said that when it was holding his gun, it looked up at him, it just threw it into the water and then stared at him. And he goes, and then it stood up. And he said this thing was probably about 8 foot tall. And he said it wasn't really massive. It wasn't really big and muscular. It was thin, kind of thin. And he said, dude, in fact, he said it was muscular in the arms and legs, but skinny still, kind of like a wiry person.
Yeah.
You could see the tracks, you could see the definition, but he's like, I could see its rib cage. And what was even creepier, he goes, I could see what I think were like organs inside the body. Like this, like in the stomach area was like, there was hardly any fur, like the chest and stomach area going straight down. And he said that it was almost like translucent. And he says, and it observed me for a few moments, and then I observed it. He's like, and I got this idea in my mind that this thing was about to attack me, kill me, and eat me. And I said, well, okay, besides it being obviously looking evil and predatory, what made you think that? He goes, it was like the image was put into my head of it doing that. And I said, do you think it was coming from the creature? And he says, I don't know. He's like, but I didn't stick around. I turned and I took off running, which wasn't very fast because I was running through the snow. And I looked back and the creature was gone. He's like, after about 10, 12 steps, I looked back, it was gone. He's like, I don't know where it went, but it was definitely physical as it threw my gun into the water. Because when I looked left, looked right, I looked everywhere. And I thought, man, I'm going to turn around and it's going to smack me, you know, and he was terrified, like absolutely terrified. And he had about a half-mile walk back to his truck. And he said, dude, at that point, I thought, man, this was a horrible idea. He was just trying to, you know, see what he could get, rabbits, whatever, you know. And he's like, I just thought this was the worst idea I've ever had. Just coming out here, you know, during this thaw and these massive creeks and everything. And he's like, dude, I never went hunting again at that time of year, never with the snow out like that. He goes, I always waited after that point. I never did it again. He's like, I didn't need to. I'm not going to do it. But I want to know how many of you people, like, what would you have done? Because I've heard people seeing things, like one lady, she saw something in San Pedro, and she literally just went unconscious. She hit the floor, passed out, and hit her head. My husband came home, like, he found her on the floor, and she was in a coma. She came out of it, and all she remembered was seeing something. She didn't remember falling or anything,
Yeah.
but she must have. So everybody handles it differently. Somebody says, rebuke in the name of Jesus and pray. Yeah, that's a good one. But what do you do? If you were this guy, and why did it not pursue him? He said something more interesting to me, though. This was really interesting. He says as he was walking back to his vehicle, he was terrified. He was half running, half walking, soaking wet. He said, I look up on this ridge and I see a cougar, a mountain lion. And he's like, I hadn't seen one in like 3 years. He's like, and I see it and it's observing me and it's sitting there up on this ridge and it just like looks at him and then turns and walks down the other side of the hill. And he said, I got the weird idea that creature, that was it right there. That was him. I said, why? He goes, I don't know. He couldn't tell me why he thought that. It was just like a feeling he had, you know. But the way that he described this thing possibly attacking him and killing and eating him, as he said, made him feel like it was a Wendigo type spirit. If that's to be believed. He says, dude, it was like, how people describe a Wendigo. And he asked me what I thought about the creature and what it could have been. And I told him, I said, dude, there's so much weird phenomena out there, I can't tell you 100%. But a Wendigo, that's as good an explanation as any. But he thinks that it may have been something that came out of one of the caves there. Who knows? Inner Earth, you don't know. So here's what my hairstylist says. She says, people are talking about how their dogs are shedding in January. I had not heard this. Spring birds are coming up. Animals are all over acting weird. Animals aren't hibernating. Yeah, I've heard of that. One guy had footage of hummingbirds out in the snow. It's weird. He's like, even our dog Mac, Mac the a-hole, yeah, he was that poor dog though. They rescued him. He was an abused animal, so I mean, he's got a reason to be.
Yeah.
But she said even Mac the a-hole is shedding. And the other morning, I heard mourning doves. There are accounts of animals all over acting odd, not just Texas, but in colder climates too. I can't tell you what that is. I have no clue. Anybody heard anything like that? If you have, though, email me, message me, and we can talk about it. In the meantime, everybody stay safe and stay warm because it's freezing, and it's well below freezing here. And so where you're at, it's probably really bad. The whole country kind of got smacked with this winter mess. Probably except for Miami. What's the temperature in Miami? Look it up real quick. Facing the Crowd says, I remember a passage I
70
read.
degrees in Miami.
70 degrees in Miami. Good grief. That's why the Dolphins can't win right there. It's too warm there all the time. It's too easy. Philip Miller says, what does his legs look like? Are you talking about the Wendigo creature? The legs, as far as I remember what he told me, was just that they were skinny and straight like a man's. They weren't like a backward bent legs. But I do remember this. He said that the feet looked like they were almost primate-like their four toes were straight ahead, and then where the fifth big toe should have been, it was kind of jutting out. Now, it's a good thing you asked that. I forgot to tell you that part. I was really, really kind of freaked out by the tail. What if albino devil monkey? I mean, it sounds weird, but I don't know. And then why would he see that mountain lion and then get this feeling that that was the same creature? Rebecca says it's cold here in Taos, New Mexico. I bet it is. Joyce Perfecto, we got -8 right now. Where at? Where's that at, Joyce? Tell me where you live. Like what place that is. Love Cat says 49 degrees here in South Louisiana. Shoot, I wish it was 49 degrees here. That's like 30 degrees warmer than it is here. What I wouldn't give to be spat in the face. Great guys, the Romans. Barton Nunley, I'm honored to be in this community. Obviously, to correspond with you and Josh. You should be. I'm kidding, Jason. We're nobody, man. We're just people, dude. Matt Colonel says 0 degrees in Kansas. Yeah. 27 here in Southwest Virginia. Dang, that's warmer than it is here. Virginia's like way up there, right?
Yeah.
And Michael Sprague just messaged me, Lions won. Sorry about Dallas. Well, I'm happy. I'm happy for the Lions. Let's hope that they, it kind of aggravated me this year with that little stunt, but I don't care. I'd love to see them actually do something. That means that since the Lions won, that means that the Packers will go to the Niners, and the Lions will get the winner of the Bucks and the Eagles. So if the Bucks win, which I'm hoping they will tomorrow, Then they'll be playing the Eagles. We'll see what happens. Mike, you live in Miami, Florida. You lucky, dude. Like, you get he's over there like he's like it's kind of breezy here. Man, you got it made, dude.
Yeah, but in summertime, he steps outside and is immediately drenched.
Oh, I know. Yeah, but it's it's just not Las Vegas. Ken Christian says it's 11 degrees. Ken Christian, what part of New Mexico? It says here in my part of New Mexico. What part is it? David Jones says, go Texans. Yeah, go Texans. I hope they win it all. I'd love to see them win it. I'd like to see them win the Super Bowl more than Dallas, just because they've never done it. Love to see the Texans win, man. That was my pick right there. If they could do it, I was so glad they got good really quick. Them and the Packers both. It was crazy. They're the two youngest teams in the league. The Packers are just a little bit younger than they are. So young teams like that, they don't know that they're not supposed to be beating these other teams. They don't know that. They just think, hey, we're out here playing. We're just balling. Northeast New Mexico. Okay. 38 degrees in Central Florida. Dang. So Melissa Purvis says it's 38 degrees in North Central Florida. Or in Florida. Central Florida. That's crazy. That 38 degrees, that's cold for Florida, man. Oof. Okay, it is north, she said, yeah. Ken, you live in 40 miles from Texas? Paul Little says 24 degrees in upstate New York. Oh, man. I'm surprised. Dude, Albany, that is like, it gets cold up there, dude. I've never been there, but one of my friends grew up over there. So he was like, dude, tell me about the cold. I know that Buffalo, they're supposed to be like, it's so freaking cold. Like they postponed the game or whatever, because it was so cold. 45 in Ocala, Florida. That's pretty dang cold. -10 in Chicago suburbs. Golly. Yeah, Maddie's probably freezing herself off. 55 in St. Cloud. Where's that at? St. Cloud. Auntie Honey, where not -9 degrees, where at? Where's that at? In Breezy? Oh boy, this is cool, dude. I'm actually enjoying looking at the weather here. You're getting old when weather's fascinating. You're like, I like that. Well, let's see what the weather's doing. When I was young, I could give a crap. I'd wear a freaking tank top and shorts. I didn't care how cold it was. And I also take cold showers and have for a long time. Do you still do that? Take
What?
cold showers?
Yeah. I'll still take cold ones every now and then.
In the winter, it ain't playing. When you take the cold shower in the winter, it ain't like taking a cold shower in the summer.
Yeah, I like to.
Yeah, you turn the cold water on in the summertime, and you're like, oh, this is it's like 60 degrees, whatever. You turn the cold water on in the wintertime, it's like 40. It ain't playing, dude. It gets. So I don't know. Have you taken one lately? I took one yesterday. It was cold.
I haven't taken one lately just because I've been needing the steam to get this phlegm out.
Oh, you've been taking hot showers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you go back to doing the Wim Hof breathing and then taking a cold shower and then going outside and doing the breathing there. Because like one time, I think it was like two winters ago, like it was like, I think it was like 30 something degrees, and I was on post working, and I was doing the Wim Hof breathing method. Like I got like so like warmed up. I was sitting in my truck. I had to take off my jacket. I kept doing the breathing, and then I eventually had to get out of the truck. And I was wearing a long sleeve shirt, and I had to roll up my sleeves. So it was like really warm, and it was like 30 degrees outside.
Madeline,
it works.
Yeah, it does work. The Wim Hof. Go look up Wim Hof. WIMHOF. 2 words. Wim Hof, and do the breathing exercises, folks. I recommend it. You don't have to take cold showers if you don't want to, but it's really healthy for you. Madeline says, I take mildly scalding hot showers. I know they're bad for you, but I'm always cold. Well, one thing you can do is if you start taking those really cold showers, you will eventually become more impervious to the cold. your body will become more adept at stopping the cold. And so I think that, if your body becomes more adept to that, that like in being impervious, if that makes sense what I just said, I don't know. But yeah, you should try it. And then I would recommend doing the Wim Hof. The Wim Hof is basically just, and you do that 30 times. Then you breathe in, and then you hold your breath for about a minute. The first one's a minute, right? Then the second 2 rounds are a minute and a half.
What's supposed to be like you hold like on the last breath on the 30th one, you exhale and you hold your breath for as long as you can, and then you'll
Well, when
inhale
you
and
follow
hold your breath.
when you follow the Wim Hof on YouTube,
Yeah, the guided breathing.
the guided breathing,
they'll
he
have
only
you
does
do
a
it for like
minute,
a minute.
and he does a minute and a half, a minute and a half.
Yeah.
I'd gotten up to like 2.5 minutes. I think the longest I did was 3.5 minutes, if you can believe that. I held my breath for 3.5 minutes. Felt like I was going to go unconscious, and I wouldn't recommend it. But yeah, and so I typically do a minute, because I'm just getting over this illness. I'm only doing a minute in the first round and a minute and a half in the next 2 rounds. But I usually go a minute and a half on the first round, and then 2 minutes on the second round, and then about 2.5 on the third round. That's typically what I do. Now you just breathe it in 30, okay, and then you exhale, and then you breathe in that last one, that 30 on the 30th breath. You just breathe in, which I breathe through my nose. It increases the nitric oxide in your blood, and so like that, and you hold it 15 seconds at the end, and then you exhale, and then you do the next round, which is 30 breaths in and out, in and out, in and out, and you just keep doing it, in and out, in and out, and then you, on the last breath, you hold it for 2 minutes, whatever, however much you can do. On the guided breathing, it's a minute and a half. That's all you really need, if you're especially if you're beginning. On the beginners, I think it's even shorter. It's like 30 seconds and then like a minute, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And it's only 3 rounds. You can do more rounds. But then at the end, on that third round, you'll feel it. Your whole body will tingle, and you'll feel like this energy that you've never felt. I mean, it is something. If you've never done it, you really should try it. And then after you do that, okay, then you will eventually it'll oxygenate your body, your blood, and you'll feel better, and you'll be more impervious to the cold. Like, I don't even feel the heat or the cold anymore, hardly at all. I just, I can go out wearing whatever, and it just doesn't bother me. I guess because I've worked out in the heat and the cold so much that neither one really just, they'll get to you eventually. But if I'm doing the Wim Hof and I'm taking the cold showers, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really fine. When I stop doing it, though, or when I get ill or something, then you'll notice it. Like when I had COVID, it was like I noticed it. My body was like hot, but I was cold. But then it would be cold and I'd feel hot. But yeah, just try the Wim Hof and do the cold showers. Now, what you can do is you can start the water on warm and then go to cold.
Yeah.
I typically don't do that. I just get in and I try to go cold. And I do from 3 to 6 minutes. I don't go less than 3 minutes in the absolute cold. And then you can go hot again after that. Like I start off usually cold, and then I just go, and then I warm up. But I only do that for about 30 seconds, and then I go cold again for about a minute, and then I'm out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, folks, thank you for tuning in. Interesting. We had an interesting show as always. Always a lot to talk about. Always a lot to do. Thank you for everyone who donated. We greatly appreciate it. We haven't been doing too good lately with the donations, and I know why. And I because it's coming off of Christmas. So don't feel obligated to do anything. If you don't, you don't. If you do, you do. If you're able to do it, but only do it if you can spare the money. Okay? Don't donate if you feel like, hey, I got to pay bills. I got to do this. I got to do that. Don't even bother. Do what you got to do. We do appreciate it, and we don't know what the future holds if we're going to continue doing two live streams a week or not. We know that we will be doing them until the end of February, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we got the first 2 guests booked to the first 2 weeks of March. So once that's done, then we'll reevaluate it. As we get closer to March, we'll figure it out. If we get back on track and you know, in February and it's financially feasible, we'll stick around. But we may just cut back and just do the hour-long episodes twice a week. I will say this, and I always use that phrase. I know people chastise me for everything I do. I'm not perfect, but yes, I will say this. I plan, at least for now, to try to keep our content free. You may have to be bothered with some ads every once in a while, but for the most part, we try to keep it free. We don't charge you for hearing the stories and the information and the knowledge that we give you. We don't charge for that. I know a lot of other channels do, but that's because a lot of those channels, that's all they do. That's their way of making money, and I understand that. They make a living. I'm not attacking them for that. They got to do what they got to do. Everybody's got to eat. But for me, as long as I'm able to have my business and do what I got to do, I'm going to try and keep the stuff free, and I depend on people to do the Patreon. The Patreon right here, this is a good way to support the show. Join the Patreon. That's the best way to support the show. And you can do the super chat or whatever if you feel like it. If you can't, don't do it. No pressure. We want to keep everything free. That's our goal. Somebody had a comment here I was going to read. Restall says, night all, stay warm and stay safe out there. My sentiments exactly. Stephanie says, Josh. Stephanie. Sharon Lane says, I appreciate you so much. PRT has got me through some tough times and sleepless nights. Folks, I'm going to tell you something else. And this is not, you know, my door is always open to my listeners, okay? If you guys message me on Messenger, through Facebook, whatever, as long as you're, you know, and you're not being rude or disrespectful, I try to spend time every day answering am I lying, Anthony?
Oh, no, you spent a lot of time.
I spend a lot of time answering messages on Messenger because I want to connect with the fans and I want to hear what you have to say and I want to know what you want. Don't ever feel like you're aggravating me or taking up my time or being a nuisance, because if you have something to say, message me or email me. And you know what? I may not respond, but I guarantee you I'll read it. I spend hours every day reading emails. That's what I do. The other day, I talked to a good friend of mine. Well, it's Ken. Okay. A little jerk that just, his Packers, just, you know, I love him. It's cool, whatever. But he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, what do you think I'm doing? I'm reading emails. That's what I always do. And he's like, I don't. I hate the people that correspond to me, and I'm rude to them, and I don't read their emails, and I throw them in the trash. See, this is the kind of person you're dealing with, folks. An evil little Packers fan narcissist. Doesn't care about you.
And he's one of the nicer Packer fans out there.
I'm joking, folks. I'm absolutely pulling your leg. Ken is one of the nicest guys. He's one of the most humble guys. Barton can tell you that. Let's see if the Cash App thing he paid me to say that came through. Let me see real quick. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yes, as I said, Ken is one of the nicest, most humblest guys. And if he paid Barton correctly, Barton will back him up. I'm joking, folks. He didn't have to pay us to say anything. He's a really good guy, good friend. He's helped me with 2 conferences, and unbeknownst to him, I'm going to rope him into doing a 3rd with me. But anyways, that's it for tonight, folks. Thanks for tuning in. It was good to see everybody, and I hope everybody stays warm. G. Sorensen says, go Pack, go. Had to get it out of my system. But you know what? You donated to the show, so you know what? Go Pack, go. Whatever. Lil Knopfs, $10. Thank you. Thank you for that donation. Appreciate it. Solovino, thank you for that donation. I appreciate that too, man. I appreciate you. That's the 3rd one you did today. I really appreciate that. You're a great guy, man. And I hope you guys have a great new year. Maddie, okay, you need to start taking the cold showers, okay? Don't get sick, because we know you're so tiny and fragile and frail. And your species of elf or whatever it is you are, y'all could get very ill in our surface world. Okay? She's over there like, I hate you.
Wood elf.
A little wood elf. And Larry, you need to stay off them roofs for a while, buddy, okay? Until this weather passes. It's too damn cold. We can't lose you, man. We don't want you falling off up there or something crazy. Mike Turner. Mike, man, him and Garetano, dude. I didn't realize that both of them are Floridians when I was driving them to the airport when we were leaving the conference. If I'd have known y'all were both going to enjoy the warmth and awesomeness, I would have just been like, you know what? It's nice and hot. I'm just going to pull over right there by DFW. Y'all can hitchhike. I did not know that, Mike. Now I do. Morgan says, Josh, the raffle at the conference was so fun. What about selling raffle tickets for a behind-the-scenes podcast where the winner's on the show? That would be interesting. The only problem is some of these people, we don't know them, and they don't like us, and they pose, and they might come here and try to kill us. Because and this is no lie, Anthony can attest to this, I get death threats about once a month.
Yep.
It's the truth. I just do. People talk a lot of crap, and they say they want to kill me and do all kinds of crap. It's like there's some sort of, beacon out there that they all swarm around like demons and they want to destroy it. And I don't know why. And you can't even get any of them to tell you why they hate you. They have all these reasons, but there's no real cohesive, and then they all team up together and they're like, you hate him too? Yeah, I hate him. Why do you hate him? He's a hateable guy. He sucks. I hate him. Why do you hate him? The same reason. I hate him and he sucks. I hope he dies. You go to hell. You go to hell and you die. And they don't even know why they're telling you to go to hell and die. They have no clue. They just don't like you. Yeah, Mike, it's called obsession. Yeah, exactly. Joyce, I don't know. The last one that threatened us was we got one right around Christmas time. And it was like, better watch your back, better not shout, better not pout, something about I'm killing you, why? I'm coming to town. And I'm like, okay. I was like, that doesn't even make any sense. So immediately I do what any fear, person that's pumped full of fear and terror, I got on there and began to correct their grammar. I'm like, this doesn't even make sense what you're saying. And you missed the punctuation, and then your grammar doesn't make sense, and it was a run-on sentence. There. And then, of course, and here recently we got the crazy guy that started up with Barton, and he's like saying, you're not going to see me until I pounce on you because you don't know my face, and blah, 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 blah. We need to quit trusting people who don't show their face. That might help. Yeah. Okay, as much as I dislike some of the guys that we just had it out with, at least they showed their face. Okay, if you're out there doing all this, you're not showing your face. You know what you are? You're a coward. That's what you are. You're a chicken shit coward. Okay, I can at least respect these other bozos because at least they're brave enough to come out and show their face. They might not be the most attractive people, but at least they're doing it. They're not hiding. But these people that are just like, oh, I'm going to do all this craziness and not show your face. Why? Because you're a little bitch. I said, that's what I said. So it's what you are. Anyways, we'll see what happens, folks. The next conference, like I said, we're going to try and do it in September, and we're going to try and do it at New Braunfels. But we're going to see. We got a lot of stuff that's going to go on before now and then. Be looking for my new books coming out soon. We're going to get it done. And we're going to do another show. Coming on Tuesday. What do we got on tap for Tuesday for these wonderful folks?
This coming Tuesday, we're going to have some stories from East Texas.
East Texas. Cool. All right. So be looking for that. And then the second part to the interview with Bettina Moss coming out on Thursday. Check it out, folks. If you haven't checked out the last one on Thursday, check it out. It's pretty scary. It's about sleep paralysis and demons, basically. So make sure you have the lights on when you listen. All right, folks, I love you. I really do. From the bottom of my heart, I love you. I love doing this. I love coming out here and talking with you guys and being a part of your life. Thank you for being my audience and letting me be a part of your life and making me a part of your weekly, rituals, whatever you do. Thank you, and good night.